Terrence,
Howdy,
thanks so
everyone.
much for joining tonight, or for your afternoon. We appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Beautiful, Mr. Griffia. How are you, sir?
Good. I'm getting well rested, you know.
Yeah,
I'm like
getting
I'm
prepped.
like a bear hibernating for the wipe, yeah.
Beautiful, love that. Mr. So Bad, how are you, sir?
I am very good. Appreciate you. Thanks for setting this up, by the way. This is very nice. Terrence, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Arcane Armor, how are you, sir?
I'm good, man. Enjoying the normal grind right now. I've been having a lot of fun in ranked normals.
Norms is the best.
Indeed.
Mr. Odin, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very good. On the topic of normals, I've been trying to tell everybody for months that normals is the way to go, and finally we got a normals event that made all the fun PvP come out. It's been a fun time, but I am definitely looking forward to the wipe.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, so as you guys can see, we have some guests on tonight. Hold the Line is another podcast in the Dark and Darker community that's really good, but they have never had a chance to talk to Ironmace. Jay and I, along with Donnie, we had a chance to speak with SDF and Terrence, well, I don't know, like a month or two ago at this point. But I figured it'd be cool if more folks than just One Peg, myself, Jay, and Donnie had a chance to speak with Terrence and the IM team. So I wanted to put this together. I think it's going to be great. I am just going to be acting as a host and moderator. I'm taking a back seat this time around. I'm going to let everyone else talk and ask questions. And I know, trust me, I'm with you, Jay. I'm going to take a back seat, let these folks do their thing, and help keep things steered and on track if need be. But beyond that, let's go over some of the One Peg interview notes from last night. There was a fantastic stream. Terrence is on the he's making the rounds with the press junket, and he did speak with One Peg last night. They went over a few things: Squire Merchant, new items and gear, a new quest chapter system, new inventory and equip system, seasonal rewards. I can't wait for my cape. And then some map changes. Goblin caves are for solos. Ice caverns are for duos. Crypts are for trios, but a solo can queue into any map at their own risk. Pre-lobbies, no more pre-match lobbies, apparently. AP and loot changes. Multiclassing and a lot of stuff involved with that, like no more level 20 cap. Level 100 is now max level, along with some other stuff. And some other updates as well that were slightly disappointing to some people, but that's how game dev goes. Like Druid is getting pushed back a bit, and Ice Abyss and Frost Wyvern are going to have to wait a little bit longer. But beyond that, I didn't really want to have a repeat conversation. So I was hoping maybe we could just elaborate on some of the points that were brought up last night, and then ask some new questions, take a stab at it from a different angle now that we've had a day to sort of ruminate and think about those changes and the updates and the news that Terrence shared last night. So all that being said, AA, why don't you jump in? Terrence, thanks again. Get ready for the gauntlet. And I'm just kidding. It's not really going to be a gauntlet. It'll be a very chill, fun conversation, I promise. It seems very formal right now, but once we get into it, it'll be very chill.
I just want to say thank you, Zoma, for setting this up. And, we're huge fans of the Hold the Line podcast, too. So, yeah,
My pleasure.
It's weird that we had to kind of go through this route, but we got it made, so.
No, this is great. My pleasure.
Heck yeah.
Happy to set it up and happy to do more stuff like this down the road. But please hold the line. Take it away.
Yeah, I'll kick things off with a nice light topic. First and foremost, hi Terrence, long-time
Hello.
listener, first-time caller. Seriously, Soapy bribed me with a lifetime supply of HelloFresh to say I love you, Terror Bear. And
Oh my God.
Wow.
yeah, I figured we kick things off with a nice light topic like training and multiclassing. So
Okay.
yeah. So just to recap, in all seriousness, what I think I heard yesterday, making sure that we're on a level playing field here.
Yeah.
When it comes to the training tab, there's two tokens that were shown on the screenshot that One Peg threw up there. On one side, you had the reward tokens, and on the other side, we had the learning tokens. And if I understood it correctly, the reward tokens are really decoupled entirely from multi-classing. They're just simply an incentive to gain experience and give you rewards throughout. Is that a fair statement? Okay,
exactly.
Cool. So when it
So
comes to the learning tokens, no, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I'll just give you a little brief history. Is that
Yes, please. Context would be great.
Yeah. So we didn't even have the reward tokens in the first place. We were just going to do the multi-classing, and then, so the big issue for us that we're tackling, we're trying to figure out is that we don't want to have this huge gap between the people that are playing all the time, and then for the more casual users. I think it's right now. So this is another thing I just want to make clear is that right now we're not targeting when I talk casual, we always have this kind of misunderstanding, and it leads to a lot of confusion when we use the word casual players, right? Especially in the context of Dark and Darker. So that's kind of a word we vowed to not use anymore because it just causes confusion here. But I guess for the people that are, have less time to, they're could only commit, maybe like 4 or 5 hours a week instead of 4 or 5 hours a day.
Sure.
And so the thing is, we wanted to build a system where, you still have goals, even if you're playing, consistently every day. But at the same time, we don't want to, so we're struggling with this challenge of, okay, how do we make it so there's not this huge gap that appears? So that's why right now we have this kind of, we haven't set it in stone yet, but, it's a kind of high gap, just get to the first master level, right? And so one of the things was, okay, that's why I keep on saying this is not set in stone. We're still working on it. We're gonna launch with the where you could earn the levels and earn the tokens, but the back history for the reward tokens was it wasn't in there in the first place. And then we were like, okay, well, we want the first milestone to get to master to be, a pretty good chunk of commitment, but you're gaining all these levels and it's going to feel like these levels are just the numbers going up. And so we're like, oh, okay, well, what can we do that's kind of quick and dirty that, still gives you an incentive and give you like the mini milestones. And so we're like, okay, I think the reward tokens is something we could, whip up pretty easily. We looked at all the systems that we have right now. And so that's where the reward system came in. And that's why we were on that train of thought. That's why the rewards are put into that UI, that screen is because, but you're absolutely right. It's not like it's very integrated with multi-classing itself.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
when it comes to, go ahead, Odin.
No, I'm just saying I dig it. Everybody likes rewards.
Me too.
I mean, you just get a little something on the side every time you level up, or every so often when you level up. It's good for everybody.
Right. And like you said, if there's going to be a pretty significant gap between each milestone to get a learning token, that kind of eases the pain of not getting any dopamine hits or, carrots in between. So yeah, that makes sense.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So when it comes to the learning tokens, I think one of the first things that I wanted to clarify is that you can spend a learning token immediately when you get it. I know that this won't be the case like this week, but once the system is rolled out.
Yes.
You would be able to immediately redeem a learning token with the Classmaster, who would give you either a perk or a skill, either one, and that would or would not be random.
So, okay, the part that we want to give players agency is who they select to get the perk. So basically, they're selecting the pool of perks and skills. But then once you select that, from that pool, it's more like, we took a lot of inspiration from roguelike games. So basically, the really popular one, Vampire Survivor, right? So you level up and then basically 3 random perk skills from that pool will appear that you
Okay.
can select from. And then if you select
it-
one from that pool, and now that's been removed, so the next time you go to that pool, then you have a smaller pool to select from each time. Or you could select a different, if you're a fighter and you say, oh, I want to get a rogue, and you select from your rogue master, master class rogue,
Right.
and then you get 3 random skills or perks that the rogue has to select from.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So
So,
yeah, just think of
you-
you level up in Vampire Survivors, right? And then you get that screen, and it has like the 3,
Right.
the cards. That's kind of like where we're taking inspiration to. We want to kind of give you that kind of familiarity, right? So
That makes sense.
originally we weren't
Okay.
even going to do tokens, because we like that kind of level up, bam, that kind of cool feeling in those roguelike games. Hey, now select your perk. But the more we looked into it, it's like, okay, we do want to give some kind of control agency in how you could go down creating your customizing your character. And then the other thing is, because this is just a logistics thing, is that we realized like, we wanted to get the system in for the season. That's what we really wanted to test this season, is that. And if we don't do the token system itself, is that we're not gonna have that ready, by 2 days from now, right?
Right.
And so, but we could, adding a increasing number into your DB for your character, we could get all that ready, and then in the next 2 to 3 weeks, getting the actual redeeming it and getting the rewards out, we could get that. So that was like, oh, okay, this is a realistic goal for us. So let's implement it this way with the tokens.
That makes sense. So yeah, I was trying to distinguish between the class master and then everyone else that I would deem as character masters, right? And you cleared that up. So regardless of whether it's the default class master, who is going to have his own unique set of perks and skills, regardless of whether it's him or a character built class master on your account, it's going to be RNG either way. So you have the agency to select which master, but the skill that the master or the perk that the master gives you is always going to be RNG. That makes sense.
Yes. It's always gonna. Right now, we're looking at you're gonna pick from 3, until like I guess if you exhaust the entire pool for one class, then you might come down to you have for sure what you're gonna get. If there's only 3 remaining perks, then okay, I'm gonna get something that I want for sure. But we're gonna the
How does that work for
target
spells? Curious.
Okay, yeah. So spells is we're gonna have logic in there that if you don't have spell memory as a skill, spells won't come out in the random pool until you get spell memory as one of your skills. But so this is so it makes it so you have to consider who your starting base character is too when you're trying to learn, right? So if you have a fighter and you're going to learn from your master wizard, you're gonna there's a lot more RNG play, because you need, if you want to start casting spells, is that you have to hope for in the early learning tokens that you learn what is this? Spell memory. But once that gets unlocked, now the entire other pool opens of all the spells. But so this is a lot of luck based too, right? Sometimes maybe you don't want the spells, right? Because you just want the perks, or you just want some of its other skills or whatever. I don't know why you would want that for the mage or the wizard per se, but maybe for like a cleric, right? You're making like a paladin, like a hybrid. Is that I don't want this? I don't want my pool to get diluted, right? So then you would purposely not select the spell memory.
Got it.
I want Smite Fighter with double jump, please. Anyway, go ahead.
No, so I only have a couple follow-ups, and then I'll pass it off to Odin and SBS. I know they've got a ton of questions, but when it comes to the perks, Terrence, I know you mentioned that you guys were doing a significant amount of rework and looking to equalize the number of perks across all the different classes. Have you guys settled on a number? I feel like for most of the classes, the number of perks ranges between 10 and 12. Rogue being an outlier with 16. Have you guys settled on a number, or is that still kind of in flux?
Yeah, last night. So you know, the perk balance skill balancing right now. It's so SDF and you know, he has a couple other people that are helping him out with that right now. Is that they're doing most of the balancing, and last I heard is that he's trying to get at least the baseline, normalize it around 10 perks for all the classes. Yeah, so that kind of gives you a hint about like, okay, where Rogue is. I think it might be a reach for some of the other classes because, you know, there are classes that don't have even close to that many perks right now. So, you know, they're trying to build up to around that number, but we probably won't hit it, you know. So
Sure.
Do you have the same goal on skills that you do on perks, trying to equalize the number of skills?
So it's, you know, we're doing several passes to get all that normalized, and they're trying to do that, you know, do both the perks and the skills. But again, it's like we're starting with the perks first. But skills are going to be, you know, some of the skills. Again, this is an ongoing process, which, you know, if you're familiar with how the early access has been going, everything's been an ongoing process. So
yeah.
And it's a lot of experimentation still too, right? Like you guys are still experimenting to decide what the best systems are, which I think people should realize, which is good. That's what the point of early access is, right?
Like an early access game?
Exactly. Precisely. All right. So, AA, did you have anything that you wanted to lead the charge with? Or I know Odin and SBS are ready to get their fingers in there.
Can I just tack on to that one?
Time.
Yeah, definitely take your time. But can I just tack on and ask if multiclassing sounds like something that you're almost going to have to do because there's going to be so many strong combinations. Is there anything that you guys have planned to keep core class identity? So, for instance, if I don't want to multiclass, will I be stronger as my main class?
Yeah, so
good question.
You know, this is again something we're debating inside right now internally. Is that we are thinking that, hey, there might be penalties that each time you do use a learning token. So there's a little bit of offset, you know, you have to consider, right? Again, this is not, we haven't come to the conclusion of, okay, what we're going to, you know, how we're going to proceed. But it's that exact concern is that, okay, you know, are we just forcing everyone down the multiclassing path, even if they don't want to? So the other way that we've talked about internally is that instead of doing forcing people multiclass, is that they could just kind of start focusing in on their actual class. And so I know SCF, what he really wanted to do was some of the perks and the skills right now is that, you know, have different levels for each perk and skill, right? So you could actually start, you know, that same perk, it becomes a level 2 of that perk, and it gives you more, you know, it becomes more effective. Or you could start, you know, augmenting that skill, right? So again, this is something that we haven't made a decision yet, right? So the reason why is, at least for this experiment here, is because we're pushing multiclassing. You know, it's in our interest to have as many people multi-class this time, right? And to see the that kind of diversity, right?
See what happens.
So that's why we're not, and so that's why we're not saying, hey, don't multi-class this time. You know, please multi-class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why we're not trying to incentivize people not to multi-class. I think, you know, this season is going to be the season of multi-classing and season of trying to break the character classes, right?
Sure.
Cool.
Season of Discovery, guys.
Yeah.
So I actually we weren't planning on doing any live question and answer with the chat, but I did actually get a very interesting question. It raises a topic that we thought about a little bit. You mentioned that there would be a sort of compounding or increasing cost every time you want to, or every time you level
Yes.
up. It's more and more expensive as you invest. So let's say somebody has really just terrible luck and they're just not happy with what they got after spending tons of time leveling up. Will there be some way that you can either spend gold or like a quest reward that will allow you maybe on a limited amount to reset that and get another chance at it?
Oh, so again, this is something we talked about internally, and I think there's pros and cons to. So right now, so I'll give you the what we came to. Our conclusion right now is that most likely there's not going to be a easy way to do that. There is a talk of, so the reason why is because, you know, at first we're like, oh man, okay, yeah, there's a you know, you could pay gold to what is it, like
Respec
rewrite,
or
yeah,
something.
respec,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah, that's the word I was thinking. But then and then that would have like you know, doubling of cost or something. But we're just like, oh man, no, this is just it just becomes just okay. So you know, we know that there's RMT right now. That's one of our big challenges that we're trying to, you know, tackle. And so as long if we're not ignoring the reality that there's RMT, and you could use gold to do that respec, is that basically the game becomes like pay to win, right? It's the people that are buying the gold. That's why we're like, okay, you know, that's probably out of the question right now. So the answer that we came to that's most palatable for us right now, it's not, I'm not saying this is going to go in or not, you know, this is the way that we're thinking about it. It's like, oh well, maybe if there's like a merchant, you know, that appears like once a week, you could use them once every week, right? And then, you know, because originally it said merchants and travelers, right? So it's a traveler that comes to the tavern, and he's the one that helps you respec, right? And then he could have a increasing cost each time you use him. But the thing is now, because, you know, he's only there once every week, you know, or when you use it, when you use a service, he's like, okay, you know, I have to go travel to the other taverns around the land. I'll see you next week, you know, something like that. So these are the ways that we're kind of thinking about it. Is that, oh, okay, yeah, respecing sounds really, you know, cool and really convenient, but then knowing the real environment of how the game, how people are accessing the game, and kind of, you know, abusing the different types of loopholes and stuff, is that, oh, okay, this could be pretty dangerous. So we have to think about it a little bit more. And so right now, yeah, we don't have the respecing. So the thing is, yeah, we understand that, hey, yeah, there's, because of that luck factor, and the this will give you guys a better idea, is that, you know, with this system right here, so we've talked about other ways to do kind of RNG type of systems that, you know, you can make these kind of multi-class, or we call it like your dream build, like the Superman builds or whatever, right? Is like, you know, the first question we asked internally was like, oh, so do we want everyone to be able to build their Superman, right? And we're like, so we you know, the inspiration for this system comes from a lot of like deck building games. So we play, like, one of the most popular games in the studio is Slay the Spire, right? Internally.
Oh yeah.
I think, yeah, SDF probably has close to like 1,600 hours just in
Oh my
Slay the
god.
Spire, right? That's like, when he gets stressed out, that's what he turns on. You can see, like, right? And so that was one of the you know, we talk about like the romance, the fantasy fulfillment is like, oh, I'm gonna build this perfect deck, you know. And the thing is that, but you know, when you're trying to build that kind of perfect deck, or you're trying to do that kind of one, really sharp kind of strategy, and you're building it, and right, within like the first 20 minutes of your run, you're like, oh, okay, this run is now it's impossible to get that perfect, then do I throw it away and stuff like that. So these are the kind of things that we're just struggling with. It's like, oh, okay, do we want to give people the ability to make their, to get that Superman really quick, and then if they're on that path, they know that, hey, this is not something that they want to, they know that it's impossible to get that, achieve that. Then they could just reset it or throw it out and start again, right? But I think this time, so what we agreed upon is, hey, for this first implementation, is that doing that. The issue there is that if it gets too easy to get these kind of Superman builds, is that first of all, someone's going to find that meta build, right? Mm-hmm. And then everyone, instead of trying to be creative and trying to do their own kind of thing, is like, oh, okay, this is the one meta build.
It's inevitable.
It's very easy to do. Yeah, and they're just gonna, and then within a month, you're just gonna have these like clone Supermans just running around, right? And so for this time, what we actively chose is that, hey, you know what? It's impossible to unless you got everything luck, you just hit you hit jackpot, multiple times over again, right? So the thing is, instead of building this, super god, is that you're gonna become super, you're gonna become more powerful. But the thing is that you're making these compromises, and so hey, okay, just doing the best you can with what you get. I think that's the approach that we want to push this time, is that, hey, because of this, you're not going to have, it's going to be really hard to follow metas, because you're just, it's a random vector, right? You could try to do that, because, you have in your mind kind of build, oh, okay, I do want that double jumping barbarian or something. So, you're going to, there's, only two routes to start from. You're going to have a barbarian, or you're going to start with a rogue, right? And then, you're going to build up from there, but based on, two people using the exact same base down the line are still going to, unless they get all the same random factors aligned, they're going to come out with like two different end characters, right? And so for us, it's like, okay, because now we're looking at this more similar to each season, like we're kind of, if you didn't notice, we're kind of going into more progression, putting more chips into, hey, each season is like a progress-based kind of seasonal thing, right? So as the season progresses, the overall atmosphere, environment of the game also progresses and changes, right? And so because of this, like, a month and a half from now, is that our goal is that people, because of the way they build their characters, like we already kind of see it a little bit now, because people do show they're known for their specific classes and their specific skill expression with that class and stuff. But we also want to show that, hey, your character becomes your identity because of your build also, right? And you're going to have more unique builds down the line. Oh, okay. Hey, SDF also joined here, so he's gonna.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
이거를
Hello,
어떻게
SDF.
설정하고 같이 나오는 거 할까요? Okay. So I'm gonna keep on talking, and then we're gonna figure out how to get this the conference room thing set up. But
Awesome.
yeah.
Since you mentioned though, I wanted to bring up the topic that you guys had acknowledged during the Q&A with one peg, that this wipe felt a little too long, and you've sort of alluded to the fact that this is I mean, even just the 3 month, I think we were all starting to really feel the fatigue in the last couple of weeks. So, whether or not 3 months is the right amount of time, who knows? But talking about this, like from a roguelike perspective, having a shorter wipe where it's very progression based, and you're like almost excited about what perks am I going to get this time? How am I going to build my character this time? I actually think that's very exciting. I could be in the minority here.
Oh well, I'm in the same minority. That's what got us excited. We're like, oh, okay, internally we're like, oh, dude, we want this season to start because I want to start, building on my character, and then, so we want people to invest heavily into that character, right? And it's like, oh, it's an extension of your identity, right? And it's an extension of how you build it, even if like the dice don't roll the way you want it, but still you're making those selections and choices, and hopefully because those branches are varied enough that the way you built it, and then on top of that we have like what we learned from the last season with the items, how you could we put in the primary stats, so you could kind of start building your character. I guess build is a little bit too strong of a word, but you could start making these kind of setups for your characters and stuff. And so we think that, these things will kind of synergize on top of each other. And so that's our whole thing is like, we come from a background of playing like the older MMORPGs. And then you would have these people on those servers that are known for like a specific kind of build or a specific,
Right.
And so that's kind of part of the fantasy that we want to be able to, we're trying to emulate, but on a, like you said, Odin, on a shorter time scale. I think the issues is when you have that kind of, the never wipe persistent, is that it gets to a point where it just becomes, impossible, unwieldy, right?
Yep.
We might have the same exact, we might hit the same wall. We don't know, right? But the thing is, at least we have the one luxury we have is we do have the ability to wipe, right? And we have these scheduled wipes. So we're trying to find that, okay, where it feels really good for like that shorter, I think internally we're still talking about it. It's like, okay, yeah, this 3.5 months was way too long, but maybe the 3 months might be better, and then if you take into consideration like the 2-week, that preparation, maybe like a 9-week actual season plus the 2 weeks. That's again, so you'll probably see the countdown on the leaderboard change at least once during the season, right? And we're just being very open about it because we're trying this kind of whole genre of like this MMO light first person, like hardcore where you die and you could lose everything on a seasonal base is, there's a lot of stuff we could learn from other games and stuff, but at the same time, this whole combination, this is kind of there's not too many other similar. Yeah, it is, and so we have to kind of learn this path, just by trying it out, right?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because we definitely want to get into sort of the high level design philosophy discussion a little bit later on the chat here. But before we get a little too into that, I do think that Arcane had a few more questions that he wanted to get to regarding the Q&A from last night. But don't worry, we have plenty of questions asked on that end. That is what I wanted to talk about the most. So I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a huge disclaimer is that, people are out there. It's like, oh, you guys are like, these professional game developers. So, our background is we are professional game developers, but, we have a very mixed, diverse, the team itself is like, there's a lot of first-time developers here. In terms of running a live service, there's a lot of first-time developers doing that too. Is that, hey, there are things that we have this pool of experience that we're drawing from, but at the same time, there's a lot of brand new territory we're going into, and that's why our thing is like, hey, we have assumptions and we have hypotheses of why we think it should work this way, but then we'll try it. And, I'm being very open. You've seen we flip-flop. But the reason we flip-flop is because we had this hypothesis we thought was going to work, and then we see the data or we see the response to feedback. We're like, oh my god, what the hell were we thinking? That's like what we say. It's like, oh, okay. And so but that does make us go back to the drawing board, and it does help us become better decision makers. Hopefully, that's I don't know. Right now the community is a little you know.
At least they're willing to
Say
be
it,
flexible.
say it.
They're
Yeah.
grumpy. They're just
A
grumpy
little-
because
yeah, a
they're
little
waiting
grumpy.
for the
Yeah,
wipe.
that's
It's
a good
fine.
one. Yeah.
You're
But-
not
so,
you're
yeah.
not working fast enough, Terrence. Just you got to
so-
speed it up.
yeah.
They're
Come
just
on.
hangry. They're hangry for
Yeah.
content.
guys-
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
And
At
we-
Ironmace, have you thought of like not sleeping? You know?
Yeah, still-
No, that's exactly the
Yeah.
choice we selected.
Weak.
But so SDF, yeah, you say he just wanted to make clear. It's like, okay, he wrote me in. So he says multiclassing may not be available next season if it doesn't work as intended. Like we're truly, you know, that's the way we're looking at it. We think you know, we're trying to find the right balance because we thought this would be a intriguing idea for this kind of seasonal. But hey, if it comes out like it's a disaster and it doesn't work out, I mean, well, you know, there's been multiple cases of that happened this early access already, right?
Sure.
So yeah,
I do have one.
그거 보낸 것 같아요. 그 link. Oh, so I'm explaining.
Oh, it's all good. I just had one
Yeah.
question about the multi-classing. Okay.
Yes.
I don't want to like. Hopefully, this isn't like rude or anything, but like, I come from WoW. You know, you have
Go for it.
talent points. You know, you put the point in,
Yeah.
all
Let me-
good. So I've never really dealt with much RNG. So like, why choose RNG over like stat allocation? Because like, I'm genuinely asking. You know, as like a straight up question.
Okay, can you hear us? So I switched over to we're in the same room.
The audio's a bit worse now, just to let you know,
So-
but we can still hear you.
Okay. 그 소리가 더 안 좋아졌대요.
okay.
We'll just yell.
And sorry, never mind. If it's already answered, it never mind.
Oh
Ignore me.
no, well, so basically, yeah, the reason why is because we don't, you know, we're trying to reduce the amount of people just following metas, right? If they could fully have that full agency, is that then you're gonna have Jay Griffey 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, a month from now because you know people are gonna be watching your stream. Oh, that's the exact way that he built his character.
Sure. Yeah, I know you said that earlier. I just wanted to, I guess,
Well,
get a double
again,
down
it's
just to make
just-
sure I understood is all. So.
It's just a design choice right now. We don't, you know, like maybe having set skill tree system is the way to go. But this time, what we selected, what we wanted to try out is this kind of more randomized, you know, where we took that heavy inspiration from roguelike games, you know,
Sure.
and that kind of deck building game. But at
Gotcha.
the same time, we didn't want to go in like, oh, you could just reset your run right away. Okay?
Yeah, so
Right.
I think
we're
it's, yeah, it's
Is the
important
camera
to. Is the camera what?
I think we're gonna
Trying.
try to use the our camera too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but sorry for interrupting so much. Yeah.
Oh no, it's
You were
okay. I
saying?
just wanted to reiterate that anyone that's very excited about multi-classing, great, don't get used to it. Anyone that hates
Hello.
it, don't get used to it. This is just for experimentation to see what works, right? So I hope players understand that in early access, this is the time whenever you try out new systems, and you guys are taking
Talk
that
right at the
time to
camera
do
when you
just
say that. Point at the audience and talk to them when you say that. Let
It's
them
an
know
early access
it's
game.
early access. Okay, we're trying stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it works. Yeah. And SDF, good to see you. Hello.
Hi.
The whole chat is losing it, dude. They can't believe their eyes are in love.
They now know you're a real man, SDF. They're very excited.
we had a running joke where we've never seen the two of you in one room, so we weren't sure if you were different people. But now we know.
They're all just saying very Ipura.
Face reveal.
Yeah. Hi.
Wonderful.
그거
Okay.
그냥 그냥 experimental이고.
Yeah, so he's saying multi-classing is just experimental, like you're saying.
그 제가 알고 싶은 거는 그냥 이 퍼크랑 스킬 다른 클래스에 줄 수 있는지 그거 알고 싶은 거예요. 그래서
Yeah.
그 시스템이 먼저 잘 돼 있고
Yeah.
그 다음에 우리가 레벨링 할 수 있을 만큼 이게 잘 만들어져 있어야 그 다음에 제대로 된 멀티클래싱 시스템 만들 수 있어요. 근데
Yeah.
그거 거기까지 그 파운데이션 만들기 전까지는 지금
So
상태에서
now
랜덤이
okay.
제일 쉬운 방법이에요. 테스트하기. 네.
So there's he kind of just gave away this our secret ingredients and we kind of have like an ulterior motive, okay? And he explained it in Korean, so all our Korean audience already knows now our secret. So that's why I think. So basically, he's saying one of the real drivers behind this is that because he does have this kind of fantasy of doing multi-classing eventually in the future, right? But the other thing for us is the way. Now this is it goes deeper into the technical side of it. Is that we built these systems that we tried to be pretty flexible, but
Sure.
his curiosity is that, hey, when we start actually mixing and matching these perks, will the system hold? The system that we built that we
see how flexible,
right?
how
And
flexible
so
it really is.
how flexible it really is because there's going to be these outliers there that are going to definitely break the system. But for us to do every single combination ourselves internally, even is that we have one main QA guy, okay?
The one guy.
The
one guy.
There's one guy.
Studio, okay? So for him to do that, it would take him over a year, right? To do so. It's hey, the easiest way for us to test out all these combinations is just okay. It randomizes it. Again, the thing is, if we made it so everyone could choose, there's definitely going to be these kind of combinations that people just aren't going to pick, right?
Sure.
I guess it would probably look like the perk pick rate graphs, right? Where it's like stealth up here, hidden pockets like this. I guess it's kind of what it. So your data would just be awful, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
honestly,
so,
one way to look at this is sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so for like hidden pockets and stuff, Rogue is getting a pretty big rework with its perks and skills. So
that's what we like to hear.
Excellent, good.
Like unlimited range pickpocket and like infinite spell step.
We're just making the cheats like in game now. Just give them the ability to loot from across the map. Yep.
Yeah, I think one way to look at this is anyone that is potentially upset about things changing or new things being tested, instead of thinking of it as your toy being taken away from you or something like that, instead just break the toy. As they're saying, they're trying to test things out to the extreme. Just have fun with it instead of being upset. Just try to break the game. Just try to make something super OP. Just try to mess with the systems as much as possible and then try to enjoy the test.
You ever strap some bottle rockets to some Hot Wheels? That's what we're thinking is going on
That's
here.
exactly right. Yeah,
that's right.
That's a good way to look at it. Yeah.
Now that SDF is there, would you mind elaborating on the sort of ideal rogue for the future? Like maybe even just hide.
Oh boy.
Like is it going to be a full invisibility or more like the wizard's after image?
Rogue is cloaking now.
Yeah, so okay, that's the cat's out of the bag. There is that the hide is reworked, so it's not a full invisibility now.
And I trying to make the Rogue's damage better, but
yeah. So and the thing is, so there's a lot of balancing that's going on with the rogue right now, but yeah, like the hide skill itself has been like you said, it's not an invisibility. It's
interesting.
Is it like while you're moving, you're kind of visible, but if you stop, you're like camouflaged? Okay, that's kind of good.
이동하면 그거 임팩트고 그리고 그냥 완전히
있으면 숨어 있죠.
So yeah, he confirmed that that's basically the exact mechanic.
Nice. That is awesome. That's cool. I think a lot of people are going to be excited about that.
I think hide has been, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm over assuming things here, but I think hide has been like sort of the center of a TTK arms race in the game, where it's like everything revolved around a single problem that just kind of spread out into everything else becoming, well, we have to match the rogue's ability to do this from stealth.
그러니까 오딘 물어보는 거는 이 하이드 때문에 우리가 이제 TTK에서 그런 것 때문에 그 TTK 우리가 이제 빼놓는 되게
네,
You know what I call that?
저는 항상 똑같이 말하고 있잖아요. TK는
Call that meta. Can
Well, so
spread around.
there is okay.
I don't like a long TK.
Yeah, there's this kind of internal civil war too, and on the I think this will be a pretty, instead of talking about all the little features and stuff, is that you get the insight into how, the philosophy and the way that we kind of debate and talk. So there's this internal debate inside here is that about the right TTK, right? Is that, and SDF, he's a big proponent of having the very short. He likes having this kind of shorter TTKs. And then, there's people on the other end like me. He is like, oh, okay, wait a sec. And so we have very, very lively debates about this kind of stuff, but again, the best way for us to answer this is, well, try it out, So I know you guys remember back in end of September, October last year, it was just like, let's do this, and let's do this, let's do this, let's do that. That was basically like a arm wrestling match between the two of us. It's like, let's go here, no, let's do this, and so, yeah, it's internally too, is that, we have different point of views and different experiences, right? But
well, I think out of that experimentation, we got one of the coolest things in the game, which is having normal dungeons limited just to common or less. I think that was a massive win that the vast majority of the community is supportive of. There may be some debate on whether or not it should be white or green, but ultimately everyone's really happy with that change. And had you guys not experimented, we might not be celebrating that right now,
Well, yeah, and so even that was like, there was a huge debate. Oh man, no, this is, but in the end it was like, okay, well, we'll just do it. we ended up doing the Ironmace way. Okay, let's do it. And worst comes to worst, we just, hey guys, we have no shame anymore, right? Hey guys, we messed up, and now it's gone again. And, it's pretty much a given every week that's probably going to happen, so. But the good thing, like you said, is that if we do it enough times, I know it's very, very stressful for the community, but the thing is, together we're building a better product together, because for every 5 of those things, we still get 1 or 2 that much more solid features that end up sticking around, right? So like you said, the normal, for us is that our initial hypothesis was like, oh, this has never worked in a million years, and we did it. And we're like, oh my god, this feels, wow, we're actually expanding, the types of people that we get interested in Dark and Darker. And then, for me, it was like, oh, dude, normals. I didn't know I wanted this, but this is what I love, that kind of stuff. And then I really, really disliked the high rollers, and I wouldn't play. And then, on the other end, it's like, no, the high rollers, we got to get everyone into the high rollers. And the thing is, we last week we crossed paths, and it's like, oh man, I love high rollers. He's like, no, normals. This is
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, yeah. So the Avenger rank was like, because I was very convinced a month ago, you gotta do the Avenger. He's like, no. And then, I mean, this is just one. There's so many other stuff that he's trying. No. And we'll eventually see each other's point of view there, and the best way is just keep on throwing things at the wall. We see it stick. So the thing that we have to get better at is that we've been throwing buckets and everything at the wall, and then we do have things that are stuck to the wall that have a lot of potential. But the thing is, instead of now polishing up these kind of things, is that we still keep on grabbing more buckets and doing this. And the issue here is that it's a lot of fun for us and the design team, but at the same time it's wreaking havoc for the programming team, the art team. They're like, oh, I just made this, what, why did it get thrown out? And so that's where we have to be more cognizant of, okay, we got to be a little bit more careful, Well, honestly speaking, we do, the two of us, we think, and the design team, we think we do put a lot of debate and time into what we throw on the wall. But the reality of it is when you see the rest of the team, that's like, wait, hold up, stop. Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, we do kind of need to slow down. Hey, let's fix this up. So there's a lot of things like what we talked about, is that there's a lot of things that are at version like 0.1, 0.2, but there's not a lot of things that are ready for version 1.0 yet, right? And so the thing is like, hey, there are some stuff that we feel are ready for that graduation to 1.0, and we just, we wanted to throw up more, half-baked ideas right now. So that's it. And it feels a little disingenuous of me saying this, because we're throwing up another, the multiclassing, which is this huge thing, right? But at the same time is, at least with this one, we really looked into, okay, what can we do with the systems that we have already in place? That's another reason that we didn't go with this you can pick it whatever you want, was that making that system actually is more difficult for us. Then we would actually have to design that. That's like a 6-week task for us. And what we realized is right now we're not very good at doing 6-week tasks. What we're really good at doing are like the 2-3-week tasks. And so like if we're doing just, okay, these systems that we already have and kind of just mesh it together. And like I said, our real ulterior motive was, hey, we want to see where does our perk skill mix and match system, where does it start to break down, right?
Right.
Once we know this, is then when we go to the actual true multi-classing system, it's like, okay, now we know the box, right? And so we can design better around that. So, I mean, yeah, it's a like I tell her, we argue pretty much every single day. We've had people like it's just normal now. It's like we'll have design meetings, and then it'll start out really, and then sometimes like one little match spark, and then the two of us are here, and then everyone's like, okay, 15 minutes, we're like, oh, sorry about that. Okay. So.
Hey, that's a good thing. You don't want to surround yourself with a bunch of yes men. Then you'll end up in a much worse spot. So hey, that is a very good thing.
True.
Exactly. So.
Since you mentioned arguments and polarizing decisions, I have a question for you that's rather polarizing, even amongst the members of these two podcasts. And that is, since you're implementing a lot of things, you're experimenting with different things, do you feel like the state that the combat in, like how complex it is, the fact that you have 2 skills, do you feel like this is the end game of Dark and Darker, or is this just sort of the foundation you plan to expand on it a little bit more? A good example is the longsword. It's a weapon with a lot of skill expression because it has the parry. Is there a plan to maybe make the combat more complex? Are you happy with where it's at?
Okay. So I'm gonna graciously bow out of this particular because that's not my wheelhouse. So okay.
제가 조금 설명하면, 이제 저는 스태미나 시스템 이런 거 되게 싫어하잖아요.
Yeah. So first of all, like the overly complex, like kind of not art, but like a stamina system. Those are things that he is vehement against, and so we made that kind of alignment from the very beginning. We're not going to do any type of stamina system.
그래서 우리가 몰드아웃이나 시볼이나 뭐 포아나 같은 그런 게임처럼 가지는 않을 거예요. 그러니까 철권 만들고 싶은 생각은 없는 거예요.
So this is again internally. This is something that we've aligned very this is one point where like the two of us see exactly eye to eye, right? Is that we took a lot of inspiration from like Mordhau Chivalry, right? For Honor, but on the other side of the coin is like we actually made an active decision. That's not the direction that we want to head into. Like we're not trying to make a fighting game, which is a little ironic because like one of our guys was I think we mentioned this. He used to be the world number 1 ranked Tekken player, right? And so
wow.
Wait, who is it?
Is this the QA guy?
I don't want to.
Wait, do you guys have JDCR working for you?
No.
Very famous.
Yeah, I'm sure people will figure it out because we're in Korea and stuff. But there's a lot of high level old school Tekken Korean players. But the thing is, even he acknowledges like, oh, okay, the goal here is not to recreate like a fighting game.
네, 그래서 약간의 발전은 더 있을 건데
Yeah.
그것들은 다 이제 FPS 게임 기준으로
Yeah.
될
So-
거예요. 그래서 뭐 우리 실드 시스템 이런 것들은 서버 랩이나 이런 틱 레이트 이런 것 때문에 좀 안 좋잖아요.
네.
막아질 때도 있고 안 막아질 때도 있고. 그러니까 이제 이런 시스템들은 기술적으로 더 보완을 해야 되고.
So he's saying that there's going to be certain small advances, right? So the thing is like, we understand that right now the combat, there are limitations. Like one thing he was noting is that like the blocking system of the shields. So we're using trait, it's
트레이 시스템.
yeah, the traits animation, right? So we know exactly the path, but the issue right now is that the server, everything is confirmed on the server. So the server is dependent on the server tick rate. And right now,
Sure.
because of the tick rate, we had, the server performance issues, right? So it was like
Right.
when the server hiccups, everyone noticed like none of your shield blocks were working, right? Because
Yeah.
the server is like, oh, well, okay, it was here and now it's here. You got hit for sure, things like this. So those are areas that we do want to invest in. But in terms of like making like a core, like going, making, again, the easy way is like making it more similar to like a fighting game is not the direction that we're looking at. But at the same time, it's like, we do want to add a little bit more complexity to the combat. But the way is positioning and like he says, we're taking a lot more inspiration from actual first-person shooters and first-person, that are rooted in first-person games.
Mm.
So, like even more how you could play it in third person, and for us, that fact alone makes it okay. There's limitations of what we could learn from Morehouse in
Right.
our game.
Yeah, I think the general consensus from the community whenever that discussion point has come up is don't go full Mordhau because it's just too much for a lot of players. They lose interest in it. But I am curious about things like maybe having 3 skills instead of 2. Is that something you guys have thought about?
So he's thinking about it right now.
He's like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Or so bad mentions this all the time, but maybe an ability that's just for PvE, like a shove or like a boost for damage against PvE, something to get mobs off of you if you get stuck in a corner. Just more. Ken says this all the time. He couldn't be with us tonight, but he says all the time, more buttons is more gooder. And I'm sort of with him on that. I like pressing more buttons. I'm a big WoW Arena fan from back in the day, so I love that kind of stuff.
But I don't like ultimate.
Yeah, 그러니까 ultimate 말고 근데 더 할 수 있는
네, 근데 그것도 많으면 좋지만
So yeah, he's saying is okay. So first of all, he's not a fan of like the ultimates and ults and like Overwatch. So the thing is, the
Thank
two
God.
of us like first we got really became friends is because playing Overwatch, but then both of us now we don't play Overwatch.
Who still plays Overwatch?
Yeah. Same with all of us. No
Well,
one's
you don't
playing.
like dancing for 2
Well,
minutes
he
until
likes
all
it.
5
He
ults
likes
come
it
back
because
up,
of the yeah.
and you can play the game.
And I think part of it is like that the alts and stuff.
그래서 그 스킬이 많은 캐릭터 이런 거는 지금 위자드 그다음에 우리가 뭐 이런 뮤직 스펠 이런 걸로 해주고 있잖아요. 그래서
Yeah.
지금은 뭐 스킬의 개수를 늘리고 이런 쪽에 관심이 크게 있지 않은데 우리가 테스트하다가 그게 필요하다 생각되면 뭐 테스트해볼 수도 있고. 그러니까 닫혀 있진 않아요.
Yeah. So he's saying it's not like close off that. So right now the way that you have the variable amounts of like buttons to press and stuff, it's like, or at least like the spellcasters is that we wanted to push into that kind of super complex. You have all the different spells and the spell wheels and stuff, and so. But again, he's saying, okay, he's not totally closed off to that. If we try it out, or if we feel the need that we should try it out, then maybe one hot fix. Hey, third skill button.
Oh shit.
You're telling us there's a chance. I like
Yeah.
it.
So there's a chance.
왜냐면 항상 말하지만 저는 밸런스보다 재미를 더 좋아하는 사람이잖아요. 그래서 항상 랜덤 모디파이 옵션도 더 크게 만들고 싶어하는 사람이에요. 그냥 지금은 너무 밸런스 깨질 거를 걱정해서 안 하고 있지만 어느 날 테스트할 수도 있고.
So like so what are you saying? So you know, this is it's already out. The cat's out of the bag again. I think I'm going to say that a lot this time with this podcast because, but what he's saying is, and you're getting a lot of deep look into the internal now. Is that his personality when making a game is that he's actually not that concerned about balance. Like he's just like, hey, I just want it to feel fun. I just want and so. That's what he's saying. Is like, hey, these kind of things. If it makes it more fun, then I'm gonna probably push in that direction. And you see me. Hey, wait.
To his credit, it's a little early for like true balancing, but hopefully way later down the line, there's some semblance of it. But I agree. Right now, what's important is just making something fun.
Totally.
Totally.
Well, even then, like you're never gonna balance it, or else.
Yeah, it's impossible to get
10-year-old
it right.
games wouldn't have balance patches,
Right.
It would have been solved by now, but it's just unsolvable.
I think we're all in agreement there, but there's like extremes too, right? So that's
Right.
my thing is like, hey, let's not
reel it in a little bit, You can't have double jumping of barbarians with longbows.
With 70%
in demon form.
Until now.
Oh yeah, in demon.
Yeah.
I don't know. Double jump is a perk. Demon form's a skill.
I do just want to say that hearing you guys actually get to talk, I think, about the design philosophy and hearing that there are, there's a little bit of butting heads in the office and that sometimes ideas have to go through the ringer a little. Okay, it's good to hear that from you guys because I think part of the grumpy, we're going to use the word grumpy here to be nice. Part of the grumpiness is that people just have a hard time wrapping their heads around this is an early access game. There's different people with different ideas. We're trying things and it's just iterating. And it's good to hear this kind of conversation. But I heard about what I wanted to hear about from this Q&A, so I'm going to let everybody else talk now.
Jay, do you want to go?
A quick one. Maybe a quick one.
You guys
and then I'll turn it over to Jay. So you mentioned that the map selection is going to go back to the way that it previously was: solos on Goblin, duos on Ice Caves, and then the Crypts and Inferno being trios. One of the questions that came up in countless threads was around questing and how that's going to impact things. So will the new quests accommodate those people that are only going to be playing solos, for example? So can you complete all quest lines just in the Goblin Caves, or are there going to be caveats that allow them to jump into other maps?
아니 뭐 다른 그래서 이 퀘스트가 뭐 트리 이제 뭐 거분 케이브만 해야 되는 퀘스트 있을 거예요. So I mean the quick answer is no. It's not going to accommodate any of that. Okay.
있는 게 아니라 이것도 하고 저것도 하고 다 같이 해놔요.
So right now the again it's we're not accommodating any of that right now. We're just trying to make sure, hey, okay, does the quest system work where if you just have to go to Goblin Caves? Right now, what we're worried, what we're trying to test with the quest system is that we're putting in, we're going to start using new objectives, and the big thing is like doing the weekly gating system, right, for the new quests and stuff. When you're talking about, that's way down the line. It hasn't even entered this sphere, right? So unfortunately, that's not. It's like, and so what SCF was saying is like, and his philosophy right now is like, hey, I don't, it's like, you shouldn't be able to just complete all the quests just by only doing one type. It's like, hey, experiment and keep your feet into
which
that's what you're supposed to do. That's
which is a very nice thing coming from like
learn and change, right? Oh, sorry for cutting you off.
I was just gonna say, like, coming from Tarkov, it's nice to be like forced to do everything, play all the maps, and like do random crazy stuff, use random items and different builds. So I think it's nice.
Yeah.
People may complain, but it's ultimately probably much better for them.
Yep.
My question leads actually directly into that. So one of the major things I was talking about with my community yesterday after the Q&A was that you mentioned in the past this idea of random matchmaking where, for instance, especially now, if you're a solo and you want to go do Crypts quests, you could just do random matchmaking like a battle royale where you just get queued with other people randomly matchmaking. Is that feature still going to be coming this wipe, or is that somewhere down the pipeline?
So it's not okay. Oh yeah. So I did want to clear up something. Couple stuff is what's actually coming out. You know, a couple days from now is that so that random matchmaking. I'm looking. So yeah, SCF brought up our internal thing. Where is it?
I can almost see a reflection on that wall. Be careful.
Yeah. Enhance.
Shame the window is
Enhance.
Yes.
That's why the windows are glazed.
So I'll be realistically speaking, if it's in the same kind of tier with the question marks, like I'll tell you what's next to it is the arena test is right next to it.
Yeah, trusted matchmaking.
And then the trusted matchmaking and the
this is first.
Yeah, the first. So again, it's a high priority, but there's a couple higher priority stuff that we're working on for like the matchmaking. Yeah. So yeah. Realistically, it looks like again to accommodate, you know, the solo players to do. Like, you know, we haven't been shy about like, oh, okay, it's been a overwhelming challenge trying to get even a semblance of balance for the solo mode, right? And so that's why it's like, okay, we wanted that's where the thinking behind random matchmaking came about. If you saw some of our videos from like a year ago or whatever, and if you would say, never ever will we ever do random matchmaking, right? We also said that about the marketplace. We also said that about solo.
Solos, yeah.
And because we keep on breaking, you know, what we say is that these are kind of like now the dominoes, right? But so we do think that random matchmaking is very, very important, but on that that kind of same platter with matchmaking in general is that there's a couple other things that we have to do to prep for that. Like you said, we're working on like, you know, trusted matchmaking. Like we're working on behind the scenes stuff for matchmaking. So the one thing that, you know, we're feeling pretty confident about is going into this wipe and then the next couple patches after the wipe is that we're going to have more and more systems to improve the quality of the each match session, right? And when we talk about quality is that, okay, we're going to have things to mitigate, you know, teaming, mitigate, you know, detrimental effects from abusers, hackers, or even suspected, that kind of stuff. The other thing is we're working on this thing. You know, right now you can actually select your regions, right? Mm-hmm. So one of the things we're thinking about is actually removing that. That gives, as for us, that gives us a lot more control about how we separate, how we monitor, how we, you know, hey, is this guy a little suspicious? You know, that kind of stuff is that once we remove that. At the same time, we have to be a little bit, you know, the one worry there is that if you're no longer able to select, you know, actively select the regional server, you know, so we're going to, the main logic will be putting you on the one that's, you have the best latency, but the wrench gets thrown in when you have parties, right? And you have, okay, people in your party from different regions is, okay, where do you have to go? So these are things that we're going to have to figure out. But I think that the benefits we could get in terms of the, you know, if we could solve that one issue, the benefits we could give to the entire player base, having, you know, fuller, better match-made sessions and stuff, you know, having less impact from teamers and hackers and abusers, if they're in their own little pocket and stuff for a while, and then we could just like, we know exactly how these items are being moved around and stuff. So
that actually brings up a pretty interesting question. You guys played Dark Souls, right?
no, we're not big Dark Souls players.
Okay,
so.
okay, that's kind of surprising to hear. I figured you might have, but they use a system. It might not be exclusive to Dark Souls, but they use a system called shadow banning or like soft banning, where if your account gets detected for cheating and suspicious activity, you don't get notified that you get banned. You get put into games with other cheaters, and you only play against other cheaters. And all of a sudden, your match quality just plummets, and it's terrible and it's miserable.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what we're trying to build right now.
Nice.
I like it.
But the first step to do that is that if people could still select the servers, then and we want that to actually, they're selecting the servers, that kind of throws a big wrench into that. So we're
Sure.
we thought it would be very easy to just like, hey, okay, we're just gonna auto server pick the server for you, but there's design considerations here, and then on the technical side too, because we're leveraging other third-party services to help us do some of, and we realize, this is not a trivial issue. So our sort of guys say, dude, this is actually a pretty big rework of our current architecture. So but I think we want to make that investment here, and then once this is ready to go, then going on to random matchmaking. That's another big thing that again, we said we'd never do it, but we see, hey, okay, we have to do it. Yeah, it's kind of a necessity, and so that's the high priority. Yeah.
This Monday, we've got one more sub programmer.
Oh yeah. And we have
two.
We have two main server programmers now. See, we're
Nice.
no capacity. We hired a new server programmer on Monday. Yeah, so
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
This time next year, we're gonna have 3 guys.
All right, so I keep seeing some questions in the chat that popped up and some stuff I saw on Reddit. I know it was slightly covered last night on One Peg stream, but people are wondering about the Druid. So any timeline on when that's coming, and if it was fully covered last night, where we can cover it again. And beyond the timeline, can you tell us which 3 animal forms are complete?
Okay, so 뭐가
빨리 만들고 싶은데 문제는 우리 플레이어 프로그래머도 한 명이잖아요. 그리고 그 사람 그 서브 디렉터예요, 부 디렉터.
So okay, so he wants to make it as quickly as possible, but again, the guy that makes it is so we call it the and he's engineer and designer also, that does the player character. There's one guy that does that. And he also is the co-director of this project, right? So he has to all do
뮤직큐 이런 거 만들고 있어요.
So
근데 actually 드루이드는 다 만들었어요. 그리고 이제 이 애니멀들은 이제 애니메이션이 훨씬 중요한 거예요. 이거 FPS에서 어떻게 동물을 표현하고 이런 게 훨씬 어렵기 때문에 그거 연구하고 있는데 시간이 좀 걸리는 거고.
So you're saying the good news is that the foundation for the Druid is already made. The big stuff right now, that's the big hurdle, is more on the animation and integrating that and make, like it's what yesterday talking at One Peg was getting all the feel of the monsters or the beasts to feel good. And so
지금 마우스는 플레이 가능하게 있는데 되게 재밌어요.
So yeah, he says okay.
앤트맨 된 것 같은 느낌 들고.
So they have the rat, the mouse. He's like,
nice.
It feels like you're playing Ant-Man, right? So that's but that was one of the easy ones to do, right?
그래서 빨리 공개하고 싶지만.
So he wants to,
조금 더.
yeah. So I think I'm gonna step in and just say like, hey, we're not gonna talk about dates anymore because our track record. I think previously when we weren't actually servicing the live game, and then we had to play test, so it's kind of like radio silence for a while. We're pretty good at hitting those kind of milestones, But now, once we actually went live and, trying to run the game and then develop and then promise, we're over promising. And that's basically the stuff that we really dislike, and so maybe it's a better idea for us to just like keep our mouths shut about
Probably
things.
yes. Yeah, as
So
Blizzard
even like,
says,
I'm
soon
kind of regretting
TM.
like, oh man, talking about the random matchmaking is like, just forget we even talked about that today.
All right, fair enough.
Druid
Yeah,
this
it's-
year, 2024.
Yeah, it's best to not give up dates or deadlines and just to go with the flow. That's what I've noticed over the years. Smart way to do it. So bad. Sorry, you had more questions, right?
Yeah, I'd love to ask a couple more. Jay, feel free to step in.
I'm throwing in whenever,
All right, I had a big question about Goblin Caves. You said that we're going back to the old 3x3 structure. That only had the one boss. Is there any chance that we can get the 5x5 with Cyclops plus Troll sort of thrown in when you queue for Goblin Caves? Almost like when you queue to Howling Crypt, you sometimes get Colosseum. Is it possible the 5x5 could become part of the rotation?
Would you have to increase the player amount if you were going to get the bigger map? Like, say you get the 3x3 and you only get 7, but sometimes you get the 5x5 and it's like 10 or 12?
So we can't easily dynamically increase the player count. Like when we've done that in the past is literally the two of us walking over to our server guy. Hey, can we add more people into this matchmaking pool? It's like, okay. Like he would never be able to sleep. So for us, we have to really consider it's like building out that system. Like putting in the map itself, that's something we haven't actually thought about. If we put that in and we didn't need to change the player count, we could probably do that. But like I said, our goal right now is to try to polish up stuff that we threw on the wall, and so the original thinking for us was like, at least for solos, because Goblin Cave is is going to be a solo experience. The 3x3 was a better fit for the 3x3 with like the 7 to 8 players. For us, felt like more of a actual solo experience than like the 5x5 with the 15 or was it 12 solo players. And so that's why we're starting with this as a baseline. I mean, there's no hard reason that we couldn't do this, but it's just it hasn't entered our mind, and I don't know if that's, again, we're starting to spread ourselves thin again, right? So we have, luckily for that on that side, the levels specialist, we have two guys that's working on that, and I don't want to split them up and say, okay, do this and this. I think this is more like a strategic thing. Is that okay? Internally we thought the 3x3 felt better. There's no reason we couldn't do it. And then, you giving us this feedback is, oh, okay, there is like the double boss thing. I don't know how we could incorporate that, but these are things we could start talking about, and we're not hard stuck at 3x3. It's just that our previous experience was that, hey, 3x3 felt pretty good, solo.
Yeah, I mean, I ran a poll for it on the subreddit, and it was split actually. Like half the people,
we saw that poll.
yeah, like half loved the 3x3 and half loved the 5x5. A lot of people said do 3x3 for norms and then 5x5 by HR. But I mean, you guys are gonna cook. I loved the 5x5. I thought it was the best map. There was like a lot to do. There were so many centipedes. We had the big treasure hoard, the 2 bosses. I felt like eventually, especially if it's the only map we could be on, it would be nice to have like the bigger version. But
it also just seems weird to like not use something made, but there's reasons for that.
Yeah,
I always think like that, just to like not subtract it if possible. That's just me.
I actually had a question about Ruins. I know Ruins is back in the oven. It's got more baking to do, but what sort of changes are coming to Ruins? What's your philosophy on Ruins currently? How are you guys going to mix it up so that it's not the most hated map?
He has a lot of opinions on that. So
루이는 이제 아웃도어 베이스가 우리 컨셉이었고,
Yeah.
이제 우리는 이제 이 게임에서 그냥 인도어 크립트, 뭐 고블린 동굴, 뭐 임페리얼 마치 좀 이런 것만 하는 거를 원하는 게 아니에요, 이 게임에서. 네. 그래서 다양한
네,
컨셉들 다 할 수 있는 게 있고.
So the initial, easy, because we had this talk before. It's for the ruins was to give a different atmosphere. It's not the game. We didn't want it to just be exclusively these tight interior corridors and stuff, right? Or like these tight the Goblin Cave, and so that's why we want to experiment on giving like a more, outdoor ambience, right? So
Sure.
the issue here is that going to the outdoors and going very open is that there's obviously a lot of issues that come with like range play and stuff. So
그래서 이제 우리가 리뉴얼 하고 싶은 거는 아웃사이드 쪽. 그러니까 서로 스폰 킬 너무 빠르고 너무 빨리 접근하니까, 그리고 이제 레인지 플레이가 또 너무 센 것도 우리가 원하는 바는 아니기 때문에 조금 더 복잡하게 만들어, 약간 더. 그리고 그 이제 아웃도어 플레이를 하는 걸 만들다 보니까 천장을 없앴잖아요. 실링을 없앴잖아요. 근데 그러고 나니까 우리가 위주익을 유지하는 게 되게 힘들었어요. 그 이제 블로킹 볼링 같은 걸 안 놓고 이 위에 올라가는 무기들, 사실 더블 점프 안 만들었으면 문제가 없었겠지만 난 나중에 플라이도 만들고 싶으니까 그런 것들도 좀 더 제대로 튜닝하고 싶은 거죠. 그렇게 하기에 시간이 좀 모자랐고, 그래서 우리가 루인이 이제 좀 언밸런스하다는 필을 좀 받는 거죠, 사람한테.
So there's two main things that he's talking about that he wants to, these are concerns with the ruins, and then we want to kind of address is that the first one is that the ruins itself. So it's 5x5, the outer ring area, that the outside modules, is that he feels that it's a little bit too open, so it leads to easier spawn rushing on killing the outside, and then like the interior parts that's kind of more the model that he wants it to feel like on the ruins. So it still gives you that outdoor ambience, but at the same time there's a little bit more complexity and a little bit more like cover, that kind of the tension stuff. So adds that kind of feel to the outer modules, right? So there's more obstacles basically. And then the other thing was that one of the things we learned was to kind of accentuate that kind of outdoor atmosphere is that we removed a lot of the ceilings and the roofs, right? But the issue that caused was, especially because, and then we also added double jump, that to make it so that double jump is not overpowered, or is that we had to put in like a lot of these invisible blocking colliders and stuff. And for us, that's really hate doing that kind of stuff, right? We wanted our game to be as much like WYSIWYG, where what you see, what you get. So it's I see that, I should be able to, and where you have these invisible blockers, is that kind of goes against a lot of the spirit of what we originally wanted to do. And that has to do with because we removed these walls. And then it also has to do with the fact that there is double jump. But even if we seriously consider removing we have this conversation every week, every month, basically. It's like, we have to remove double jump. And I'm like, no, we can't. But it's a monthly occurrence. But the thing is, even if we did remove double jump, he wants to add, you could fly eventually with like the wizard, right? It's like, now you open a whole another can of worms there. So it's, so things like this is like, I think there's gonna be more vertical limitations too, like actual, the way it's built and stuff. So these are things that he wanted to work on, but we just have no time, right? As two guys. And then we've also given them another, hey, now it's time to revamp, rework the Goblin Cave, rework, the focus matchmaking pools. So if you want to do all this, and we can't even give you time to do rework the ruins in time, this is just it's in the oven now, right now.
Of course, yeah. And Ice Caverns. I absolutely love the Ice Caverns. It's my favorite map. I like it solo quite a bit. How do you guys feel about Ice Caverns right now? Are you guys, I mean, obviously it was not feature complete, not even close. You guys said it was very bare bones when it came out. How did you feel about operated and how everything played out? Are you guys pleased with it?
아이스캡은 어떻게 된 건가요?
재밌죠. 네, 잘 만들었어요. 잘 만들었고 되게 사실 우리 걱정 되게 많이 했죠. 처음에 이것도 비하인드 스토리가 있잖아요. 그래서 그런 얘기들도 해준.
So you know, simply said, he thinks it's fun and it met our expectations, or it went beyond our expectations. But then there's a backstory here is that originally, so this is a time, you know, we were the two of us for like the last 3 months, you know, just external stuff was, there's so much other stuff that we had to focus on. And so this was like the first time we're like, okay, design team, you're on your own and you do the ice caverns. And so there was a lot of concern originally. Oh my God, you know, and then the first iteration came out and we're like, oh, okay, we're very, very concerned now, you know, like, but the thing is like, the end result was it went beyond our expectations. It was like, oh, okay, you know. And I think the feedback from the community also was that it's, you know, I think it met expectations there too. It's that, so for us it was like, oh, you know, it gave us a renewed confidence on our team. Okay, you guys, hey, even when we're not like trying to micromanage everything, it was like, okay, you know, we're like kind of steady, steadfast, you know, team that we could rely on. So
That's cool.
That's something we learned here. So I think, you know, I simply said is like our impression with the ice cavern is it was a good success. It was a big success for us. The issue here is that it's a double-edged sword because it was successful, right? When we came to our conclusion, it was like, man, but you know, we're throwing too many, you know, half-baked features, and we want to start actually focusing on the real, you know, polishing up the stuff so it's actually well made, right? It's the ice caverns is in this like weird zone where it's like, oh man, it's too good that we if we remove it now, it's like it's gonna be a revolt.
Yeah.
And even, you know, we realized that it's like, okay, like if it didn't do well, it would have been easy for us. Okay, yeah, look, you know, remove it and we're gonna polish it up and then you guys can have it. But it's in the zone where it's just like it did way better than expected. It's like, oh, okay. And so that's why it's kind of in that limbo zone right now. It's like when, you know, yesterday with One Peg, I was like, I kind of stuttered there when I was talking with the duos. Like the original was, what is it? Solos, Goblin Caves, duos, Ruins, and then the trios with the Howling Crypt and the Inferno. And then now it's duos with the ice cavern because it went beyond our expectations. Like, okay, let's try. The reason I was a little hesitant there is that we're not exactly sure if ice caves is the right fit for duos. The duos play, you know,
Sure.
match pool. So that's where there's a little bit of a disconnect. We have to kind of go back to the team. But right now, their focus is not really on the ice caverns. They're going to start like for the first half of the wipe. We're going to try to get the Goblin Caves really good. You know, the Goblin Caves too is there was originally 3 maps, three 3x3 Goblin Caves, right? So there was an original 3x3 Goblin Caves, and then there was another one that got added later on, and then later on there was like a hybrid that mixed and matched modules between the 1 and 2. That was not that great because these modules weren't really made to mix very well. But the good thing is making the 5x5 Goblin Cave, we've added a lot of new modules. So this time, I think a lot of the work's done. So I'm pretty confident that when we go out with the new Goblin Caves, is there's going to be not the hybrid one. That's going to be gone. Is that we're going to have a new 3x3 module with the Goblin Caves. that uses a lot of the newer modules, because I think there were, part of the fun of the 5x5 were a lot of the newer modules. Again, our quality keeps on improving as we keep on making more modules, right? And so there's like the 5x5, they had that one super chaotic room in the middle with the centipedes in the bottom and has all the
I love that room.
So internally too, everyone loves that. Yeah, let's go in there and it's just going to be this big brawl, right? And so it would have been a shame we could go back to 3x3 and one of the most popular modules in the Goblin Caves is gone, right? So that was like, okay, that was one of the directives is, okay, we're going back to Goblin Caves, let's make it right, and then let's fix up. We know there's a lot of issues with like connections and stuff on the even the original 3x3. So we're slowly working on trying to improve that.
네, 그리고 우리 포스트 마운틴 관련해서 지금 서비스 만들고 있잖아요. 그래서 거기에 지금 이제 우리는 포스트 와이가 만들고 있는데 지금 제가 생각하는 아직 혜님한테도 얘기 안 한 거는.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hear it for the first time too. He's gonna 우리가 world exclusive.
우리가
okay.
드래곤이나 와이펀드 보스 같은 거 만들 때는 여러 팀이 이제 여러 명이서 하는 거, 레이드 하는 거 그런 것들을 테스트 해보고 싶다고 얘기했었어요 옛날에.
그거는 근데
그래서 저는 이번에 듀오로 만들잖아요 우리가. 원래 프로토마켓은 트리오로 베이스 디자인된 맵이지만 지금 우리가 플레이어 풀 그리고 우리가 만들 수 있는 어떤 캐퍼시티 이런 것 때문에 듀오로 할 수밖에 없고 그래서 여러 팀이 동시에 잡을 수 있었으면 좋겠어요. 그 순간에 협력해서.
Okay. So no, okay. It's not total. Yeah, he hinted at this before.
그렇게 아마 디자인할 거예요.
Yeah. So the thing with the Ice Abyss, which no date now. Okay, it's gonna be a while away. But what the creative push, the direction that we're gonna give the design team is that because now that at this point in time the Ice Caverns is a duels map, right? Is that and this is something we like the Wyvern is this gigantic Wyvern, right? It's like our fantasy is like just two guys aren't gonna easily take down this Wyvern. So what he was hinting at is that this is gonna be one of the ones where you're gonna make like that kind of suspicious, uneasy alliance with another group to take down.
4-man.
Yeah, so that's kind of what the experimental design direction for the boss.
Interesting.
Ice Cave's first 5-man experimental map.
Ooh.
5-man experiment. And this is another funny story is like why that one day there was an announcement we're gonna get rid of the duos, right? There was that one time that announcement came out.
We remember, yes.
Yeah.
And we had a very long phone call about that. It's like,
but I always wanted to get rid of solo and duos.
Yeah, so his thing is he's
the best.
Yeah. Again, so we already do feel kind of spread thin as it is with supporting solos and duos. That wasn't the original intention, but at the same time, it's like now that we have experimented with that. But again, there's huge challenges, especially with solos with balancing. Duos is a little bit, it's not so much, I don't think balance challenges. I think balance actually, you see a lot more diversity on duos, you see a lot of different combinations and stuff. So that's something that we think, but at the same time, it's because we just have less time playing duos, is that we're just less familiarity with it. So we don't know exactly, okay, what's the right direction to go. And so that's why we're always like, the easy decision for us is because we have limited research. Let's just cut that out and focus on trios. That's the easy answer for us. But at the same time, we know, okay, that's not an actual answer for us, because.
그리고 지금은 이제 플레이어들의 행복을 위해서 for players happy. 그것 때문에 우리 솔로 듀오 선택해서 하고 있지만, 그러니까 특히 솔로는 듀오는 뭐 그렇다 치고 솔로는 그러니까 원래 이 게임, 그러니까 이 클래스 베이스드 게임에서 솔로에서 밸런스 맞추는 건 불가능한 거예요. 그래서 그런 게임을 원래 만들고 싶어 하지 않아요. 우리는. 그리고 이 멀티클래싱이 사실 미래에 지금 디자인하고 있는 멀티클래싱은 좀 러프한 버전이고 좀 테스트 익스퍼리먼탈 버전이지만 미래에 우리가 뭐 갖게 될 어떤 멀티클래스는 이 클래스 간의 어떤 갭을 너무 크게 만들지 않기 위한 용도로 쓰일 거야. 그게 이제 원하는 거야. 뭐 그러니까 좀 힐러는 힐만 해야 되고 탱커는 탱킹만 이런 걸 원하지 않는 거야.
Okay, so this is kind of complex because it'll tie into some other questions that were previously asked. But basically, SAF, what he's talking about is like, you know, like solo and duos, again, it was never our intention, right? Because there's these things, design challenges that are extremely difficult for us. But so now I think for duos is actually safer than solos in his mind. I feel like I did a pretty good job of convincing, hey, duos we cannot get rid of, right? Because but the thing with the solos, right? Our biggest issue with solos is because we have this kind of very strong class identity, and so it's hard to balance these classes, especially on one-on-one encounters, right? Like the classes. The reason we go with classes is because classes have strengths and weaknesses, and you try to cover each other's weaknesses with the composition of the parties and stuff. But when you go to solos, like you lose all that kind of subtleness. It's just like, you know, two hammers like bashing each other's. And so the thing is, on this type of game that we're designing, where we're very heavily class focused, is we're kind of realistic. It's going to be almost impossible for us to balance a solo game where we want class identity. So the thing is, the reason we have solo, we're not removing solos and duos, is because, you know, there's been a resounding response from the community saying this is what we like, we enjoy this, please don't take it away, and that's value in itself. And so, okay, that's why I say realistically, you know, that's not a choice for us to take that away now. But then the thing is that there's still that challenge of, okay, how do we balance for solos in something that's almost impossible to balance? And so one of the reasons, this popped up, another reason for, I forgot about this, but the reason we wanted to try the multiclassing is because, hey, this is maybe one way avenue of trying to address that kind of solo imbalance, is that, hey, if you have these kind of hybrid classes, right, and you're kind of covering your weaknesses and stuff, and you're having more overlap of, you know, I guess like skill overlap or power overlap. That is
capability.
Yeah, capability. Yeah, and so that's one approach that we're thinking. We might be naive, but one approach to making solo a little more palatable for people that, oh, okay, it's still imbalanced because this class has no chance against this class in the solo setting, right? It's like, okay, well, that's true. But now we give you these other tools to kind of, you know, remedy that, or kind of you try to find a solution for that. And so that was another ulterior motive behind trying to push out this kind of multiclassing, to see if, hey, you know, does this hold water? Or we just, you know, full of crap? We don't know, right? I think it's worth, because we can't, you know, I know we talk about it. This is another monthly thing. Let's remove solo. I was like, no, we can't.
You mentioned also that there were some stat changes potentially in the works, specifically with resourcefulness, and that was the first thing that came to mind too. Was that would impact solos the most, because when you watch solo players, they are the most reliant on. I use the lore as a really good example for people who want to get into playing Slayer Fighter, because he loves the crossbow swaps, and he pulls out a bow, he's changing weapons, he's throwing all sorts of utility and stuff. That kind of stuff is a way for them to cover it, but like, but it's very cumbersome to play, and I think a lot of people don't want to play like that. So I think some of these like multi-classing changes are a good way to address that.
Well, so I think so, you know, I feel bad for the lore, because this is again something we talked about, is that it's gonna become more cumbersome, right? And it's kind of it's like collateral damage from one of the things. So there's two aspects here at play. And one of the things was like the infinite, you have that inventory just full of Francesca axes, right? So it's like, oh, okay. I mentioned this yesterday with one peg, is that we're waiting for the full revamp, the refactoring of the inventory system before we could do any kind of drastic stuff. So what can we do immediately that could kind of make that kind of play a little bit less prevalent? Is that okay? Well, we could easily just put into we call it wearing time. So when you put something from the inventory into any of your slots, right? So that we could do, and on the programming side, without really touching the inventory system, we were able to do that. The second reason, motivation behind that, is because of multiclassing, is we need to have to normalize the weight of all the 7 attributes, right? And we know that, we're not, we play the game too. We know that resourcefulness is not that great. The original plan for resourcefulness was to give you more options, right? More options, and especially with like the bags, like quiver system, like a utility,
There's like weapon slots and stuff too, right?
Yeah.
At some point.
Originally, we're gonna. So this goes way back. If you see our original game design document, is like that you can switch between 1 and 2, right? This was actually going to be gated behind a minimum resourcefulness, and all those utility slots, they were going to open up. But the other thing we've learned running this live service games is, so this is why we could be a little careful about running these experiments, is that this is also from the training, is once we give like the full-fledged system and then we try to tighten it up, there's a big revolt on that too. It's like, so okay, it's hard for us to backstep. So that's why kind of switched around the training system from it evolved. But going back to that, is that the resourcefulness, when we're starting this multiclassing, it has to be, you can't have these stats that are up here and then one like right down here, right? So at the very least, it should be somewhere a little bit closer. And so one of the things was, hey, we could do this, and it ties in with the resourcefulness anyways, is that it gives a little bit more weight to, hey, if you want to, use that kind of style. The problem here is that, there's wearing times on a lot of other items now. Is that kind of, and so it does add it does make things a lot more cumbersome. And so this is the thing we're talking about. Like, so when we first put this in, we're like, hey, we got to make resourcefulness really powerful. So we added wearing time to, like, it's one column in our table, right? We just added, and so even potions. And then, but you go in the game, and then every time you're putting in a potion, it just feels like, oh. So that kind of play where you're running and then you're like doing this, and it's like, and you see this little bar go up, you're like,
oh no.
So we see the value in it, and this is like this tug of war between like, okay, making things make sense in the way that we want to balance things, but making things not feel horrible, right? And I don't think we're gonna find a very good solution, because this is kind of like an interim, fix before we get the actual bag system and stuff like that. So I think one of the casualties is gonna be like that kind of quick switch longbow crossbow play right now with the wearing time.
That's cool with me, man.
I'm fine with getting rid of it too.
It takes me 1 second to pull a potion out of my pocket, but it takes half a second to pull a crossbow out of my backpack, and
especially a windlass, a literal ballista.
So just to switch gears to just gear in general, and if this was covered last night, I couldn't watch everything last night. I did have to go after a while, so I didn't see the whole interview. But if gear was covered, let me know. So currently, when you throw on some like blue or purple gear and you go into high roller, you feel pretty good. But if you go up against someone in just pure legendaries or in pure gold gear, because they were able to spend some gold on the marketplace to buy their bis, the differential between that person in top end gear and you with your self-found purples is so extreme that unless the person in gold gear makes a big mistake, you're probably gonna fucking die. So, is there any sort of are you guys considering maybe squishing the differential between top end gear and maybe mid tier gear? Are you guys trying to shrink that gap so it doesn't feel you don't feel like such a god dominating everyone just because you have a gold cape on?
Well, so 지금
Sure.
소원 물어보는 거는 이제 그 하이롤을 가면 뭐 그 보라색 이거면 그냥 굉장히
강하죠.
강하고 좋다. 근데 레전더리
Oh, he
만나면
said get good.
이 자리 있잖아요.
Skill dips.
골든 기어는 이제 더 이상
아니 그러니까 근데 그것만 골든만 아니고 그 레전더리 있잖아요.
He likes his gold gear. I know it.
So okay.
cannot see legendary anymore.
So okay, the first change. This is gonna be
Well, Germany
you'll see is that because there's this is so with the introduction of the marketplace, one of the things that I think it did address was that now it kind of laid open what's out there on the market, right? And then it showed us the other things that legendary gear is not very legendary. It's
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
so the thing, I mean, there's bias because it's towards the end of the overly long season and stuff, and people kind of stockpiled and stuff. But at the same time, that's not the role or the fit that we were originally intending when we were designing the legendary. So you'll notice it right away. The other thing is, we've been hinting a lot is like the progression gating is that you're gonna find legendaries much rarer, at least at the early part of the season, right? Maybe
Great.
so. I think eventually is at the end of the season it might get to a similar point. So those are things that we have to have internally discussing. But the easy answer for us that buys us time too is that like legendaries, they're not gonna be very easy to see even on the marketplace. And that uniques, man, at least for the first few weeks, if you see a unique, like everyone on the community should know who's holding each,
And you don't know, but I started to adjust the drum rate table.
Yeah. So it's like I said, I'm no longer even a developer anymore. So you tell me that you don't know, but last night I started fiddling around with all these the drop rates, right? So
그래서 모든 드럼 레이트가 이제 많이 내려가요. 그리고 레전드리는 좀 크래프트 레전드리 아이템들은 다 없어졌어요. 이제.
Yeah. So I guess another big scoop this time is that to in line with this is that all the craftable legendary items, they're now you won't be able to craft legendaries as epic as the max 8.
Oh, that's a very good change.
Okay.
Yeah, so all legendaries have to be found in the dungeon now.
Nice.
Cool. I like that.
So these things, he hinted at it. Now I'm finding out that he's implemented it.
So will legendaries be better on average if they're going to be rare? Because right now you could get, you could loot a unique item from a boss and have it just be, it's just terrible. Like the only thing good on it is the base stat. So if we're going to make these items much rarer, will they be better on average to compensate?
No, that's the easy.
Okay.
Good.
All right.
Make them really rare.
이 갭, 아이템 갭
That's
때문에
good.
지금 레전드를 입은 사람들한테 에픽 가지고 대항을 못 하잖아요.
네.
근데 사실은 실력 차이가 아주 심하지 않으면 트라잉 할 수 있어요. 할 수 있는데 우리가 만든 이제 골든 아이템들이 그 올 어트리뷰트 같은 것들을 너무 세게 가지고 있어서 이게 좀 언밸런스하게 셌던 거야. 너무.
Yeah. So
그래서 그런
what is going back to your question, Soma, about like the guys, you're in all epic and you're having a hard time against people on all legendaries. So if you're talking about like the general, again, legendaries have that kind of the random roll aspect, and you're talking about the average level legendary is that we feel like, hey, our internal playtest, we have our own little internal arena that we mess around in.
Cool.
Which is horrible for us too, because we're like, we're just gonna test something out, and then we end up spending the entire day like, bring it back, But the thing there is that what he's saying is, I think there was some bias with, because we had the golden items, the golden legendaries, and you could see the roll before you craft that item. So you were getting like super high-end legendary items. And on top of that, they had like, you know, the +3 all attributes and stuff, which was right now with 7 attributes, you know, that's making a huge impact, and you could get a cape and the scarf. And so that actually went beyond when you had those kind of super BIS legendary. That was when it went past that area, you know, that gap where the epic couldn't follow. But like for us, we feel like, oh, okay, the general level of normal legendaries, and like you said, you could get a unique, and it just gets all crap rolls, right? And you're just like, oh, it's like we feel at least right now is that okay, this is it is a gap, but it's not like impossible to overcome, right?
네, 그리고 그때는 이 랜덤 모디파이어 우리가 다 보고 만들 수 있었잖아요. 크래프트에서. 이제 그거는 더 이상 없어요. 그래서 BIS 찾기가 더 힘들어질 거예요.
Yeah, and so the other thing is, you know, this is kind of goes back for this season. The philosophy is like, hey, legendary, like these items are going to be much rarer. BIS is going to be much rarer. If you do find it, you know, and you sell it on the marketplace, it's going to be very valuable. But that's what the marketplace is there for. The other thing is that what STF was saying right now is that the adding to the rarity of these kind of, you know, high quality legendaries, like all the crafting items now are going back to the old style. So you won't be able to see your random modifiers before you craft. We're gonna make it, but we're gonna balance it so it's a little bit easier. You know, we're also aware that if we do that, like crafting item value will drop tremendously. So we're gonna make it so it's, you know, we're gonna make it easier to craft things. But the cost of that is that you're not fine picking exactly what you want.
Right.
All right, so all I heard was skill issue. Got it. Okay.
I just want to say that it is wonderful to hear because
I love it.
That's great. That's great. Yeah.
In a game where all your power is like randomly decided, you know, like what you get on your gear, to be able to like, you know, pick and choose what you want on the high end is always.
Well, also the best gear should come from the dungeon. You know, I mean, crafting gear is great and it feels like a good supplement, but you should be rewarded for doing the hardest content by getting the best stuff.
Yes.
Right.
So oh yeah, the because that epic or what is it? The crafting items are only epic, but it with the added stats and stuff is what we're trying to fill with the epic or the crafted epics is that kind of intermediary gap between like because it'll give you plus bonus stats that you couldn't get even on like a legendary with the crafted epics, right?
Sure.
So it's kind of like an epic plus, you know. So
yeah.
Okay.
That's nice.
So oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say now that legendaries are really hard to get and artifacts giga rare, is it possible for solos to get this kind of same level of gear, or is really doing the Inferno bosses as a trio going to be like the only way to get the actual bis? Because before in the 5x5 we could get a lot of gear from the 15 pulls from the treasure pile and the 2 bosses in the vault. So are solos just kind of locked out of the bis?
지금 밸런싱한 거에서는 미스티컬 키에서는 얻을 수 있어요. 유니크 아이템들. 아티팩트들.
계속 갈 거예요, 근데?
그거는 필요할 것 같아요, 제 생각에. 왜냐면 지금은 오버이오가 없어졌기 때문에 5x5 없어졌으니까 이제 2 보스 잡고 그 유니크 얻을 수 있었던 그런 찬스가
그러니까 솔로가 이제 어떻게 얻을 수 있는지.
네, 근데 그렇다고 솔로에서 보스몬스터 잡았는데 유니크 주는 거는 너무 많이 너무 쉬워요. 그러니까 그 임페리얼 보스 잡는 것보다는. 그래서 지금 있는 솔루션은 이제 미스티컬 잼 더 활용하는 거죠.
Well, so
이거 계속 바뀔 거예요. 근데.
Yeah. So the reason we don't want to, you know, because it might change. It will probably change, you know, for sure. Is that the way that they've addressed it right now is that you have the mystical gem, right, on the Goblin caves, and right now there is a unique drop in there. They moved that to there, right?
Right
now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So It's very, very low chance. So it's gonna be lower chance, even in the front of the season and stuff. But so yeah, so that's one of the ways, but I don't know if that's the right way, right? So like having legendary or uniques drop from the troll or the cyclops right now is like, I think that's a little too much, right? That's what he's saying, is that's why right now the implementation is with the mystical gem.
Sure.
Thank you.
Excellent. So last night you guys talked about some sort of marketing plan that you guys had. I want to ask a question here about the company in general and everything outside of the actual game itself and game development. So obviously you guys have a new office, you have some marketing plans. Can you tell us what sort of priorities you have just as a company right now, as a studio? What are you guys working on besides tinkering on the game? Just for anyone curious about Ironmace.
엄청 게임만 만들면 너무 좋을 텐데.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is, man, if we could just focus only on the game, that would be heaven here,
Yeah, I'm sure.
We have all these other stuff that we have to think about. It's a lot of stress.
그리고 우리는 특히 모든 걸 다 결정해야 되기 때문에 되게 할 일이 많고. 근데 뭐 마케팅 쪽에서 이제 어떤 거 준비하는 거.
그래서
킵 코드 그다음에 뭐 트라이얼 코드 이런 건 좀 얘기해 주는 게 좋을 것 같아요.
So I mean, so first of all, we don't have a marketing guy yet.
Yeah.
Okay. But I think it's getting to a time where we're probably making that jump to like a big boy company, like an actual company, right? Like an official game company. So those are things that we have to think about. And then, so we're doing things behind the scenes, like meeting people, talking, and trying to figure out the strategy, because that's not our expertise. We don't know how to do that kind of stuff. And so, we want to find people that could teach us how to do that well. Our whole thing now, like, this is just the way we've aligned on thinking, is that hopefully, we're going to try for future needs for the company too, not just, here. It's that, we make a lot of these kind of decisions in this kind of bubble here, is that, hey, but we're in a very fortunate situation. We have this huge community of very, very, committed, loyal, just, active, fans. And so I think it's been probably a mistake of us to not actually leverage more the community itself in try to more official capacity too. So like and the thing is, it's weird because our actual history, we have actually pulled from the community for like official roles in the past. So like Grayson, he was actually a player. He just reached out to us. That's how we got introduced and stuff. And I was like, hey, okay. It worked out, and it's been very, very, a good relationship for both of us. And so the thing is, I think we're gonna start utilizing that strategy more. We don't have the full plan in place yet, but we've been talking a lot about it internally, or figure out, hey, in terms of knowledge too, is so it's no secret we've been hiring and trying to fill out the company, right? Expanding the team. But the reality of it is that the onboarding is taking longer than expected. And in terms of, I think that's actually had an impact on us. We're talking about this the last 2 weeks, is because that's where we're doing the majority of our new hires and stuff, is instead of improving our efficiency actually went down. We'll be very well. So the thing is, because you have new people coming on, they're trying to learn the system.
Yeah, train. Yeah.
Stuff. And it's like then you're taking the people that are actually, especially for our team, was like this core dedicated team itself, is that these people are wearing multiple hats, and then now on top of that we just added, okay, you got to train these new guys.
Right.
And so the actual work that they were doing is like getting
anywhere with the one guy probably hurts a little bit for a
Yeah.
couple weeks till they get them up to speed, right? I would assume. So
Well, so the monster guy was like
Weeks.
2 guys, and then the other thing that really worked out well is that it was they're buddies. They're close friends from before too, right? So it was like
oh, nice.
you would just be like, hey, you messed up, do it like man, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, and that's that's why he was able to get up to speed really quickly. It was just like because
Nice.
They had rapport. Yeah.
yeah, they had rapport. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, I bring that up because so many people are like, I've seen in my chat and Jay's chat multiple times, especially whenever we do the podcast on Tuesdays. There's developers, coders, data folks, all kinds of people that always ask, how do I apply at Ironmace? So throw it out there. There's so many people that want you to be their boss. They want Terrence Spark as their boss.
I bet a lot of them probably do as like a weekend project or something.
I want to just work for someone, please. So I mean, the best thing is if we find me a boss, right? And then that just
I hate to break
We
it to
can
you,
never
Terrence.
replace you, Terry. Sorry. You're stuck with this forever now.
I'll try, but I'm not gonna be very good,
But so I think there's because this is something we're taking very seriously. So there's a couple other steps that we have to take. I just want to put it out there. Is that first of all, because we're just located regionally in Korea, and then it's difficult for us to hire on like a full-time employee into Ironmace right now, unless you're a resident of Korea or you have an actual visa, a work visa here. Sure. And so, so the other thing we're talking about is trying to find, that's that limits the pool severely, right? Because
yeah,
and it's looking worse and worse. If you guys have seen all those doom and gloom stories about like the birth rate in Korea, right? So we know like, hey, we our goal eventually is to reach out globally, right? So I think the realistic approach, and we've utilized this in the past with other people that are helping us out now from the community, is trying to figure out a way to do kind of like freelance contracts and stuff. So we're actually like engaging with our lawyers too. Is like, okay, well, what's the best way that we start leveraging and using people that want to help from the community in an official capacity, where we can't officially hire them as a full-time employee in Korea, but we could still make it worthwhile for both of us, because you guys, the community has this wealth of knowledge and experience that, frankly speaking, is that we try to keep up, but then at the same time, our day job is that I know. So we try to do that. He had that challenge. He reached all demigod. The thing was, the last month and a half was so much, just internal, like, management stuff here. Is that, hey, the actual time we got to play the game was shrinking, right? So of course, for us is that, okay, we got to play our game a lot more. That's our goal for the next. So things might slow down just because we're playing our game. But the community is playing the heck out of the game, and so they have this kind of additional insight that we can't have without playing the game.
Sure.
So
and now when the community asks, do they even play their game? The answer is yes. They're slowing down development so that they can play the game more.
우리 게임 많이 하고 좋아하는 사람?
Yeah.
그리고 그 열정을 보여주는 사람들이 있어요. Yeah. 그 사람들이 다 우리 멤버 됐어요, 지금까지.
Yeah.
그래서 뭐 한국에서도 그런 플레이어들이 있었어요. 자기가 기획서 써서 와서.
맞아요.
저도 다 읽어봤어요. 재밌었어요.
Hey, so that one guy in Korea, I don't
네,
that gave there's someone that sent us a design document. I'm sorry we never got back to you, but you're a legend. Yeah, thank you very much.
Wow. Okay. Cool.
Shout outs to the one guy
Yeah.
again.
Oh, was it for the
Back
crystal
when we were
sword?
at the old office, like,
Oh.
but so that's the thing is that we've had we've had like 100% hit rate with people that we've hired from the community itself, right? And they pretty much know our game better than we do, you know, like some of these insights and stuff, like, and so that's the thing that we're trying to change a lot of our strategies, go more into the, you know, leveraging that community. Yeah.
그래서 우리는 지금 게임 디자이너 찾고 있는데 필요해요. 지금 이제 우리가 느린 이유는 이 보틀렉이 지금 게임 디자인 쪽으로 좀 오고 있어서 그래서 게임 디자인.
Yeah, so he's talking about even like on the game design side.
우리가 며칠 전에 얘기했어요. 다크앤다크 안 좋아하는 사람은 절대 안 먹을 거다.
Yeah, and our thing from now on is that we're not gonna hire anyone that is not a hardcore Dark player now.
근데
Nice.
한국에서의 시츄에이션 그리고 우리 게임이 조금 이제 좋아하는 사람들이 좀 호불호가 갈리니까 그런 사람들이 많지 않고 그래서 찾기가 어려운 게 있어서 우리는 해외에서 그런 사람들 찾으려고 시도할 거야 아마 레벨 디자인이나 뭐 여러 가지 컨텐츠 디자인이나 이런 쪽에서 그렇게 할 것 같아 아마.
Yeah. So I think
한국에 있으면 더 좋고.
Yeah. So he's saying that the issue with you know we have these kind of hurdles with the being Korean company trying to hire in Korea. In the past, you know, we had that the lawsuit and our image here in Korea because we did it, like we said, we didn't have a PR. We don't have PR. We don't have marketing. We're not a big we're not like if someone's looking from the outside, they're like, what is this? How is this even a company? You know, kind of thing, right? But because of that, you know, like the initial narrative, you know, we suffered, but so our image in Korea wasn't, you know, it's improving now, right? It's definitely improving. But because of that is that, you know, we don't have these people, these it's not a big pool of hardcore Dark and Darker players in Korea right now. If you are out there, you know, please let us know and you're interested and you love Dark and Darker and you know. But the thing is, because that is a limited pool, you know, for us is that, okay, we have to expand globally. We're trying to find the right way to figure out, okay, what are the right people, you know, to help us grow this game, you know, to the next step.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you're willing to move to Korea, if you're a developer, maybe you'll have a shot. If you're a hardcore player, they're open to hiring folks from the community. I think that's a smart move. Can people just look at the website if they're interested? Ironmace.com, or what's the best just for?
So again, it's not, we haven't gotten to the step yet because we have to get through, okay, how do we structure contracts in the right way? How do we structure, even if we get all this, we'll get a bunch of applications. We don't have a guide to even look through the applications. Okay.
Wait, folks.
So
don't
HR.
send anything. Wait a little bit.
Send them anything.
Time out on that. Yeah.
Our thing was, hey, we know we have guys that could code. We have people that could make some art stuff that use Photoshop, and then hey, you know, a few of us written game design documents. That's kind of, you know, what we are, you know. But because now we have grown, and we have people that are helping us out, giving us this kind of advice. We know that, okay, these are big essential parts that, you know, actual companies really need to run properly. And so we got to fill those positions first, and then we'll be able to handle, you know. So it's going step by step right now.
그리고 우리가 계속 확장하고 있어요. 우리 지금 6층도 계약했잖아요.
Yeah, okay.
지금 사람들이 더 앉을 자리가 없어요. 더 뽑는데도. 그래서 우리가 확장하는 것 때문에 이 컴퍼니 확장하는 것도 엄청 큰 일이어서 개발이 좀 느려지고 있는 건
so like you're talking about the extra stuff is so like every single interview we have to go into every single interview that we hire, right? So we've been doing like two or three job interviews every week for the last like 2-3 months too, right?
A lot of time.
So and the thing is like, oh, okay, you know, you don't want to expand too quickly, right? So you want to make sure you put in the right, you know, efforts and stuff. So the thing is, but even with that, you know, we've been able to grow the company. We actually, you know, we moved here in December, and we actually ran out of room right now. Right.
Already?
Expected people that were- Well, so the thing was like, yeah, you know, we were already up to like 30, almost 40 people, and now this office only like we're naive, okay? Yeah, we're not, you know.
With the freelancers, we
Yeah, with the yeah, so we're over 60 with the freelancers right now, right? They're not all in Korea, so that's, you know, we lucked out that we don't need to have actual physical desks for everyone yet. But the thing is that we're gonna hit the 60. So here it's like 58 people is the max, right? So there wasn't actually that much. We were, you know, again, we're not experts at running companies, right? And so we're like 50 people. That sounds like so many people. Like, how will we ever manage that? It was just like, you know, this. So we're already looking to try to. Okay, we need more room. Luckily, there's the sixth floor in our building. They like a couple weeks ago, we saw the moving car outside. We're like, what the heck's going on? Asked the building manager, hey, you know, are they moving out? You know, so like just by pure luck, you know, things like this is happening. So we're like, okay, we have now physical space starting probably at the middle of April, May to kind of, you know, build up. So yeah, our thing is that, hey, you know, this is a project of passion, of love, and we want to reinvest into it. But you know, we're kind of hitting the wall of what we can do with just the size of our team right now. And so we're looking at, okay, hey, we see a lot of potential here, and we need to find more people that could get us to reach that next step in the potential. So
awesome. Thank you very much. That was the last of the questions I had that I saw folks talking about in chat. Gentlemen, anyone else have any final questions or comments?
I have sort of a closing thought, so I'll let everybody else go if anybody has questions first.
All right, I got one or two more burning questions. Now that SDF came back from being sick, can he talk a little bit more about the arena? Because Grayson mentioned that it's not what we think it's going to be. Is it you know, full loot?
Specifically, he said it's not going to be a place where you go to practice.
Yeah.
So
this time, I think.
But remember, it's evolving. It's evolving.
At this time, I think players not losing their gear in arena.
Yeah,
that's my.
Okay.
Yeah.
But realize this: a month ago, we're like, they have to lose their loot. Okay. Well, yeah. So there's like, so yeah. So there's a design document that's already. It actually called there's multiple, but the last one was called like version 0.2.
0.2 there.
Yeah, and that one, because you lose the loot, under that assumption, is that at the end of the battle, like the losing team is like sitting here, and then the winning team, and then there's like you could do thumbs up or thumbs down, right? Each of the winners, right? And if thumbs up happens, then the losing team gets to keep their loot, right? If it's thumbs down,
oh shit,
then you can take the loot, right? So obviously, if we go with removing, you know, you losing loot, yeah, then
make them beg for it.
Yeah.
Changes, yeah.
The grinding
It's an interesting one.
Hope we have VoIP for that. Make them beg.
So, okay, like this might seem a little ironic or contradictory. Is like, so SCF was saying, it's like, you know, he's not a fan of these kind of where you have to constantly grind something, right? Whereas now we're gonna introduce a multi-class system where it's like we're actually pushing. Yeah, but the difference here is so like the arena itself is kind of meeting a different need. It's more for, okay, show off your actual, you know, skills and, you know, progress the ranks as a skill indicator of PvP, right? And so he wants to kind of reduce the influence of the grind, you know, grinding aspects of the game for the arena itself. So this was like a recent talk that we had, you know, the last 2 weeks, and this is why it's kind of veering more away from, okay, losing loot probably doesn't make sense in this type of arena vision that we had. Whereas like the older one was more like, oh yeah, there could be a grinding aspect to it. It's like, okay, maybe now we have people that want to grind and get progression. We have multiple systems already to satisfy those kind of needs. So maybe the PvP doesn't have to do, now we don't need to fill that kind of need with this system, and it could be just more like an actual pure, PvP skill-based system. So
Interesting.
Right.
Cool.
That's kind of how it is
change.
It's kind of how it is in WoW. It's just like go in there, grind out your rank, just prove that you're one of the highest skill players in the world in an arena setting.
Yeah.
But you should refill the consumable items.
Yeah, so he's saying, but there's still, you have to have gold, and you're gonna have to buy the consumables and stuff. But
yeah,
that's the like, dude. Before that, we're talking about like, oh, you would have durability on your items and stuff too, even if you didn't lose. And so now.
Yeah, there's there's a
10 talking,
billion
wasn't it?
ways to do arena, so it was like a big question mark. It's really so many different paths.
Odin, what were your final thoughts, sir?
Well, these Q&As are a great way for us to hear from you guys, and obviously it's great for us because we get to sit down and talk to you and pick your brains, and we get a unique kind of like one-on-one experience with you. But I feel I'm not speaking from the minority. I'm actually speaking from the majority here of people that I've talked to within the community, that they want to hear more directly from you guys in an open channel. And you mentioned bringing people on board to communicate, talk within the community, and I think that's very, very important. The closing thing I wanted to come with here is I would love to see more of that direct communication with the community. As much as I'm thrilled to be here talking to you, I think the community would like to hear directly from you guys. But as we leave the conversation here tonight, can you talk to us about the multi-classing, the short weeks, the chapters? It does feel like you're aiming towards a more refined, shorter experience. Can you tell us what the goal of this season's tests are? Are we looking towards maybe a shorter run for seasons in Dark and Darker in the future with less emphasis on uber powerful gear? Or is this really just a test and we don't know yet?
그러니까 이번 시즌 목표는 뭔지, 그러니까 우리가 원하는 거 알고 싶은 거.
일단 시즌 길이를 좀 찾고 싶어요. 우리한테 좀 정확하게 지금 너무 길었어요. 원하지.
So one thing he's saying is that we're looking to find the right length of the season. So we know that the last one was too long, so that's why we're going to go shorter. But we don't know if going shorter, how short is too short. We don't know. Yeah. So
그리고 이제 플레이어 이제 그래프, CCU 그래프 같은 것들을 보면은 플레이어 숫자가 이제 줄어들고 있잖아요. 근데 그게 앞에서는 되게 심했다가 우리가 퀘스트 업데이트하는 11월부터는 조금 안정이 됐고, 그걸 이제 우상향 시키는 게 살짝 이 플러프를 올리는 게 우리 목표죠. 그게 우리 목표예요. 그래서 좀 더 사람들이 편하게 게임할 수 있고, 더 재밌게 할 수 있고, 더 오래 할 수 있게 하는 거. 근데 그게 안 좋은 그런 그냥 애딕티브한 스타일로 하는 거 아니고 그냥 재밌어서 하게 하는 거. 그거를 찾는 게 이제 시즌의 목표예요. 그거 조금씩 더 헬시한 상태로 만드는 거.
So the short answer is trying to improve the health of the game. So that it has multiple aspects. Like he was talking about a lot of some of the more abstract stuff that we talk about is like so one of the things this is for us when we look at the internal data. It's like we're looking at the number of players, right, and the way that like when we started the game, back in launched it in early access last August, you had this big influx, and then you had a sharp drop. Right, it was still very good. If you look at comparatively to other industry standards for like the retention rate, it's still very, very good, right? But it's still to us, it's like, oh, okay, you see this, drop, yeah. This, so what we're interested in the slope of the drop, right? Is that, and so each time, we knew this is something we expected because we knew that hey, we weren't ready. There was extenuating circumstances of why we had to launch at that time when we weren't fully ready. But because of that, this was not unexpected, but it's not something we wanted, right? And so our goal has been, okay, we want to slowly change the trajectory of the slope. And so I think the last the start of the last season was where we actually started to see like, hey, the base health of the game, or the retention was starting to be looking very good. There were times where we made mistakes. So and then obviously the technical quality performance of the game wasn't very good for a big chunk in the center of that season, and we saw that when those kind of things butted their heads, you saw that the player counts start to drop again. But the thing was that what was very reassuring for us is with that last season is that, hey, the slope dramatically changed. The issue right now is that we're not pouring in a lot of new players yet, right? And I don't think we're quite ready yet to do that the full, like, hey, let's go out on the full get as we're back yet, right? But I think we're seeing a lot of reassuring metrics and stuff. Our goal now is that it's still negative slope, right? It's like, hey, we want to get it to a point where it's like now tilting back up, right? So it's like people come and people will stay, and then this just kind of builds up on each other. And if we could show this, once we get to a point where we even see like a slight positive, this is the signal for us that, okay, now we're really ready. Let's we have our talks with in the background stuff. It's like, okay, let's pull the trigger. But the thing is, like, even if tomorrow they say, hey, you could go on any store you want, it's like, will we do that? Probably not, because we're not, this is what we're looking at this level. And so this goal here this time is that, okay, find that kind of make the game healthier, find what we could do to kind of improve this. And the thing is, like, make the game fun again, right? At the same time, he's talking about, like, we're experimenting with a lot of these systems. It's like we want to make it fun. At the same time, we don't want to make it exploitive. But the thing is, like, there's that kind of thin line. It's like, okay, so we're going to put in these systems, experiment. You guys give us that feedback. Is it fun enough? Is it okay? If we're doing something that's, you think is horribly exploitive or abusive, then let us know that too. We're not averse to, like, we made that mistake where you had to unlock the bard, right?
Yes, that was a very divisive decision.
Yeah.
우리가 그 얘기를 안 했었잖아 지금. 이제 우리 그 마케팅 하려고 하는 플랜.
Oh yeah, so
원래 이제 더 큰 플랜도 있었지만 그거 말고.
Yeah. So I mean,
할수 있는 거.
Yeah. Oh, so this. Yeah, I actually never. I just rambled and never really answered Soma's question about like marketing and stuff. It was like, hey, we do have a marketing plan. Again, we don't have an actual marketer guy, so we could only do what we could come up with internally. But we have an internal plan. Is that because we have our own platform, we're going to leverage that. We have Blacksmith. Who, I mentioned this on One Text stream yesterday. Is that on Blacksmith, the one big thing we're working on right now is the gift code system, right? So this time we're gonna test out the gift code also with the trial codes. So we're gonna give a 10-day trial code to everyone that has a what is it? So first of all the chat game stuff to prepare for this, we migrated all those people onto Blacksmith, right? And the thing is, anyone that has a Blacksmith account in good standing that bought at least the standard edition, we're gonna give all those people a free 10-day trial code to just give to their friend.
Nice, hell yeah!
Ooh.
Big W right there.
Yes, I got my friends to try this game.
Without an actual marketing expert, it's like, hey, for us we're killing two birds with one stone. It's like, hey, we have Blacksmith and we have to test this anyway. We did an internal test, but then, hey, can it actually handle, if it goes to some mainstream, is that would it actually be able to handle the load? Okay, well, we have a huge contingency of players that we could ask for a big favor. Hey, and you guys have been loyal to us, so please help us try this out. And then on with this, is we're gonna, we're learning marketing one by one. Is that, hey, that last sale we did, it did give us a good boost, right? So we're like, okay, we're gonna use this time to do, like use these things. These are marketing tools, right? So start leveraging these marketing tools too. So we're gonna have a sale coincide with this. And then hopefully at the end of that 10-week trial, the sale will still be going on. So people that, hey, I actually like this game and I could buy it at a discount, so
Awesome.
become a long-term player. So these are things that we're talking about that we could do without a marketing expert, that we could just do internally, that we're trying to, man, I'm gonna regret saying this because again, these are other things that, in the works. So when I say in the works, there's no hard date.
You mean tomorrow? We got it. You mean tomorrow? We get it.
All right, Steam tomorrow. All right, see you then.
예, 그거는 근데 so again,
우리 트라이하고 있고,
yeah,
원래 이거 프리시즌 좀 길게 가져갈 이유도 그런 찬스 있을 수 있을.
Yeah. So okay. So he's going to talk about, we are making contact. We are having discussions with storefronts right now. So.
Great.
We'll let you guys know that. Yeah. So I mean, part of this extension of the wipe was to try to work out some kind of external kind of synergy, right? But the thing is like, hey, we're not ready. Let's focus on what we can do right now. At the same time, is because learning from other storefronts is like they have their tools that work really well. So like this is the thing that I might I want to bite my tongue, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, we're Ironmace. We just we say what we say anyways, right? And one of the things that we're actually looking into this might be is like regional pricing too. Is that we know that we have people playing around the globe, and it's like, okay, the real reason why we didn't want to use like the storefront regional pricing is because we know that we haven't fully tackled the issue with like people hackers and stuff, and then we don't want to give them an avenue where they could cheaply buy a bunch of accounts that they could test out and kind of pressure test their systems and stuff, right?
Sure.
And so I think we're getting more confident with that, and so I think now we're the reality of the global economy is that like, hey, there's different costs of living, so these are things that we're going to actively have to learn about, because the big storefronts, they've already learned that lesson, and they've they're good teachers in that aspect. And so those are things that even without a marketing degree, we could just plug and paste, and say, okay.
Sure.
But yeah, so the big thing for at least the stuff that we can do concrete right now, in the very near future, is we're working on that sale, then we're working on the gift codes, and then we're working on the trial codes. And so at this point, hopefully we're going to push that out. And so, you guys have the people are that our fans, our community. You've been very, very loyal, and this is just one way that, hey, it's a win-win for both of us. It's like, hey, we get you guys, we get to test out our system, and then we get to thank you guys for being so loyal to us.
마지막으로 하나.
And then okay, yeah, one.
Someday we back to Steam or Epic or
Yeah.
우리는 그 길 찾을 거예요. 어떻게든 게임을 줄 거예요. 이거 사는 사람들한테.
아, 네네. Okay.
그거 되게 많이 물어봤어요.
Okay.
스팀 가면 게임 어떻게든 될 거예요.
So
어떻게든 스팀의 게임 가지게 해줄 거다. 그 길 찾아줄 테니까 찾아줄 거다.
again, because there's in the future, we're gonna go on to we'll have blacksmith, but again, there's a lot of overhead resources and stuff. Because of that, hey, if we could get onto when we get onto the mainstream platform, is that what SDF wants to ensure everyone is that we will find a way for all our loyal, players that bought it on Blacksmith to find some kind of way that, hey, you don't need to rebuy the game if you already bought it on Blacksmith. So it's not a full on, but we're going to do our damnedest to figure out, the storefronts have their policy. And so for sure but to us is that, hey, if we don't make that effort, it's not fair, right? Yeah. So our thing is that, hey, we're going to do whatever we can in our power to say that if you're a loyal Blacksmith customer, but hey, you just like, Steam better, or, Epic Games, or, whatever, and you want to go there instead, we're going to figure out a way to get that done if it's legally possible with, the contracts with, working with those storefronts. So that's something that, because I know a lot of people have asked about that, It's like, oh, do I read? It's like, we would love for you not to rebuy the game if you already bought it, right? So.
Excellent.
I always thought that was a weird one. Why,
Mm.
Why you have to have it on all-in-one launcher? I never understood that. That was just me thinking.
People like to collect and have all their collections in one book.
I guess, must be. I'm not a collector.
It's just like a mindset thing.
I got a weird question. Maybe no one asked. How's Dad Mobile doing? I know. I know you don't touch that. I think, right? But I'm just curious.
Games.
What? 그러니까 궁금하다고요.
아.
He's like, I forgot about that.
He's like, I don't know.
I'm gonna see.
The what?
Oh no. So
high expectation.
Yeah. So we have high expectations, but okay. So the thing is, we have high expectations, but at the same time, it's a completely separate product. So I'll be honest, we don't have that much insight into. You guys,
no updates.
Yeah. So and then the thing that he's saying is that we're using this as a strategy too, is because just to be on the safe side. Again, we're very confident in our position, but the thing just to be on the safe side is that because it's two different companies that are making this product, right?
Yeah.
We're making our Dark and Darker PC, and then Craft on our partners are making the mobile version. But the lawsuit is in this area, right? So the thing is like, hey, just to make this kind of firewall. That's why we don't actually have that much. You guys know as much, I'm disingenuous. We've seen more stuff, but it's not that much more, right? I'll be honest, it's not that much
more to come. More to come.
Yeah. I was just curious if they send you updates or let you know how it's going.
Yeah. So what he wants to say is, if there's anyone on the team, that's working on the Dark and Darker mobile team, is that we heartfelt apology. Sincerely, we feel bad that we can't take a more active collaborative role right now. It just kind of sucks. But the thing is, we have a lot of high expectations and we have a lot of high hopes for they're experts too, right? Yeah. So that's the thing is and I guess that's a good thing for us too, is because we have our plates full anyways. If we had to also do all this stuff, is that
it'd probably be awful.
Highly well respected development team here in Korea. So that's the thing. It's they're doing us a big favor. It's okay, we don't need to think too much about it. It's okay, you guys will do a good job, and we have high hopes for that. But the reality of it is we don't know much. We know a little bit more.
Regardless.
Worth asking
though. One day.
Yeah, it's worth asking about. It's something to plan on an airplane or something at the airport, So guys, we've had you for 2.5 hours. Thank you. I know you guys have stuff to do. Thank you so much for coming on. This is always so enjoyable. I can't wait to have you guys back on again. We'll get a new slew of faces here to ask you questions from the community, which I think is probably really important. Just thank you so much for the work you guys, that you guys have been putting in. Keep on fighting the good fight. Keep having no shame and don't listen to the community. Just cook. Just do your thing.
Just cook. That's
I
right.
think it's great. And of course, to the Hold the Line guys, So Bad, Odin, and Arcane, thank you guys for coming on and sort of taking the reins this time around. I thought it was important that other folks get a chance to talk. So thanks so much for coming on, and we're looking forward to the wipe, guys.
Thanks, guys. Big fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
Excellent.
Nice.
Cool. All right. Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Take care,
We'll
everybody.
let them
guys.
go. Everyone else stay on, but we'll let them go.
Yeah.
No,
All right,
you
all right.
hang up. No, you hang up.
Hey, if you guys
Cool.
don't leave, we're gonna ask more questions. Just heads
Yeah,
up.
we're just gonna sit.
Yeah.
That's the episode. I saw him looking at his watch. He's like,
Instantly
"What's
waiting.
going on?"
There we go.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
guys.
Bye bye.
Cheers.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. I will see you live on twitch.tv/SoBadStrange. Please comment, like, and love if you enjoyed any part of this video, and I'll see you for the next one.